From service to strength, from questions to choice, guidance you trust, HerVetVoice.
Hello, YouTube, and happy Sunday. Thank you for joining us today. It is the beginning of a new week. And so we are starting off this week with a bang. And we are also starting off this week with the Mr. Royal Rock Wellness. And I call him Craig. And so we are here tonight to chop it up together. We will cut up tonight as we usually do. There is so much for us to talk about. And so it is a pleasure, Craig, to have you here with me. And before we get started, I want you to introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about you, and then we will get into it.
Thank you so much, HerVetVoice, for having me on the platform. As we talked about a little bit earlier, I've admired your work from afar. I've seen us, when you do vet claims content creation, you kind of get into the small world of kind of what's going on.
Yeah.
And so I was telling you how I stumbled across your content, and it is absolutely fantastic. I'm a retired Navy veteran. I retired back in 2018. I started in the Marine Corps many years ago. Let's say in the 90s. I started in the Marine Corps in the
Tell
90s.
us your age.
And then I was out for 4 years. When 9/11 hit, I got back into service. I wanted to get back in the Marine Corps, but the doors were closed for people who were what they call retreads. So I said, I just let me in somebody's service. And so the Navy had some openings. And spent some time in the Navy, really had a great time, learned a lot of stuff, served in a lot of places, did a lot of things like we all have. And then how I got into this space was, and I've talked a little bit about this on my channel. I remember when I was about to retire and people started saying, oh, you got to do your VA claim. You got to do your VA claim. And I said, oh, a VA claim, what's that? And so I remember I had some folks around me. I was blessed to be working as a government contracting officer. So I had people around me in certain areas who were veterans, who were also government civilians. And so what I did was I just started sort of asking around. And I remember, you're gonna laugh at my impression, Hervis. Don't laugh too much at my impression right here. But I remember one of my friends. He was a retired warrant officer, and he was like, he sat me down. He said, you submit a claim. I said, yes, sir. He said, sit down. Let me tell you something. I was like, yes, sir. He said, he was from the Caribbean. He said, get your medical record. He said, I want you to put in chronological order. I said, yes, sir. He said, me don't want to know the rate. I have to find something out from you. You understand? I said, yes, sir. He said, so he sat me down and walked me through just how to organize my record and how to present it to the VA. And then I had some other folks. My brother-in-law is a retired Army officer. And so I had different people showing me what to do. So by the time I went to the VFW to actually submit my claim, I had everything. I had my condition list, with all my diagnoses and everything in chronological order, like my friend had told me to do. And so I went in there thinking that they're going to actually check my stuff and say, hey, yeah, this is good. Man, I sat in there with the VFW. I sat my stuff in with the VSO, and she looked at my stuff and she was like, okay. I was like, you're not going to... Is this what we're doing? You're not going to show me? I don't know anything about this. Are you going to? And so she said, well, you've got everything in order. I haven't really seen anybody put together a claim like this. I'm just going to submit it. And I was like, okay. But I remember leaving her office, HerVetVoice, and saying to myself, man, I wonder how many other veterans are just kind of sort of in the dark like this. And so I started doing, claims for my friends and families who were military, who were veterans, and had a ton of success. And then, I got in the company space for a bit. I did like what I was seeing. So I got out of that space, and then but I've probably been working with people since before I got out of the military. So it's been over 10 years that I've been doing sort of vet claim advocacy, and not just vet claims, y'all. I mean, I've been doing, work with homeless vets. My wife and I was thinking the other day, man, we've lost count of how many people we've helped to get not only compensation, but like get them established on VA healthcare. You know, we work with veterans who have been incarcerated. We've just done the whole 9 yards,
Awesome.
because I believe every veteran needs to have a chance to win. So I'm excited tonight to talk with the HVV family. I see some of y'all popping on, and
Let's see
I'm
who
grateful that you have me.
you. It's definitely a pleasure. Hello, Mini Moto. We have the mad researcher. Hey, as all the real Miss K is here, and she got the snacks ready. She is shouting out the Royal Rock Wellness, of course, laughing. And I want you to know something. I'm from the island of Barbados, so I totally hit the demand. Okay.
That's
Hey,
right.
it's always good to see you. We have Mr. Dwayne Kimball here.
Oh, we got the goat. We got the goat in the house. How you doing,
Himself.
sir?
Yeah. So tonight we have another hearing. I can't get those brown shoes out of my mind. So we have another hearing tonight that we are going to go over. This is going to be a lot for you guys to take in. Have your popcorn, your candy, your pencil, and your paper, because guess what? Somebody is calling the VA out to the carpet, talking about what they're doing, what they're not doing, and they are not going to like it at this hearing tonight. Okay? So let me get us started, and let's bring us on down here. And look, it's already playing, and I ain't even ready yet. All right, let's see here. Let's go back to the forefront here, and let's get this party started.
Housing and other general benefits and services. Of the total $377.22 billion going to everything in this function, more than half is spent on income security programs. The vast majority of this is for disability compensation and pension programs, which, while they are important, do also need to be reevaluated for fraud, waste, abuse, and any dollars that are going toward bureaucratic overhead rather than veterans themselves. This is followed by nearly $150 billion for hospital and medical care for veterans. Knowing that money is currently being spent in this sector is important only insofar as Congress actually acts on this without worsening the national debt. The need for oversight and sustained reauthorization is absolutely key. If you are not looking at where the dollars are going now, you will not know how to better spend them in the future. There are challenges today that were not present in the 1970s or 80s. For example, perhaps housing should be getting a bigger slice of that pie, or education and training. Perhaps we should be reevaluating mental health research and making sure that outcomes are matching up with where dollars should be going, rather than following the trend of the 70s, 80s, and 90s prior to the global war on terror. I'm running low on time here, so I'll just finish up by saying that GAO has consistently ranked several VA programs as high risk, that payment accuracy has noted that the VA comprises only 6% of the entire federal budget, but is responsible for the 4th highest outlays designated to susceptible programs. And improper fraud, waste, and abuse, as well as improper payments, are going to continue being exacerbated without additional action by Congress. The alternative is clear. Oversight is needed. Thank you, and I look forward to your questions.
I'd now like to recognize Mr. Stratton for his 5 minutes opening remark.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, ranking member, and members of the committee. Thank you for having me testify today. My name is Tim Stratton, and I am the director of the Congressional Oversight Initiative at the Project on Government Oversight, or POGO. POGO is a nonprofit, independent watchdog that investigates, exposes, and champions reforms on systematic corruption, abuse of power, and waste. Since 2006, the Congressional Oversight Initiative has trained nearly 6,000 congressional staffers from both parties and both chambers on the best practices of oversight and investigations. I'm honored to be here today to talk about the importance of congressional oversight, especially at the Department of Veterans Affairs. As the Article I branch of government, Congress has a constitutional responsibility to conduct oversight. The Supreme Court recognized this nearly 100 years ago when it stated, Congress cannot legislate wisely or effectively in the absence of information. To fulfill that constitutional role, Congress must ensure the executive branch responds to oversight requests either through request letters, briefings, and peer-net hearings, and it remains accountable to the public it serves. Strong oversight can uncover waste, fraud, abuse, mismanagement before problems escalate into larger failures. It can also inform future legislation. Oversight depends heavily on whistleblowers and bipartisan cooperation, both of which strengthen Congress's ability to hold agencies accountable. This committee understands those stakes very well. The 2014 VA waitlist scandal demonstrated the serious consequences that can occur when accountability breaks down. At that time, POGO collected nearly 1,000 responses from veterans and VA employees, revealing a troubling culture of retaliation against whistleblowers. As POGO has testified before this committee on several occasions, on the need to reform the VA's Office of Accountability and Whistleblower Protection to ensure whistleblowers are protected and the office functions independently and as effectively as Congress intended. Today, the need for oversight at the VA remains substantial. Congress has not reauthorized key components of the department for nearly 3 decades, with many programs continuing to operate under expired authorizations. At that time, the VA's fiscal year 27 budget request totals more than $488 billion, a 7.7% increase over last year's enacted levels. Investments on that scale demand sustained congressional oversight to ensure laws and programs are operating effectively and delivering intended outcomes for veterans. As you said, Mr. Chairman, outcomes are meaningful. The top line figure, however, is just the tip of the iceberg. In fiscal year 2015 alone, the VA made nearly $288 billion in awards, including $90 billion in contracts. POGO has spent decades conducting oversight of federal contracting, an area historically vulnerable to waste, fraud, abuse, and mismanagement. Last year, the VA awarded more than $6 billion in contracts without competition, and another nearly $10 billion in contracts were made when only a single bid was received. Congress should continue ensuring agencies use robust competition and sound contracting practices. Strong oversight also depends on strong oversight institutions. Mr. Chairman, you mentioned inspectors general and the Government Accountability Office. Those are among Congress's most important partners in conducting effective oversight. As of this month, the VA's Office of Inspector General has more than 550 open recommendations for the department, and the GAO has another 170 more, including more than 20 listed as high priority and high risk. These recommendations present a clear opportunity for congressional oversight and a potential roadmap for legislative reforms. I should add that while the VA does have a permanent IG in place, dozens of IG positions across the government are vacant, with most of them still waiting for a nominee. And the GAO is also acting without a permanent head and is also waiting for a nominee since December. Finally, as I close, I'd like to stress congressional oversight should not depend on which party controls the White House. Oversight is one of Congress's core constitutional responsibilities as the Article I branch of government. Effective oversight protects taxpayer dollars, improves government performance, ensures existing laws are being implemented properly, safeguards veterans and whistleblowers, and preserves the system of checks and balances envisioned by the framers. Thank you again for the opportunity to testify today, and I look forward to your questions.
Thank you, Mr. Stratton.
I saw it all over your face.
I think, when he mentioned the $6 billion worth of contracts, much of that with just only one bid.
Yeah.
Just one specific thing to talk about with regard to that.
Mhm.
In order for a contract to be competed properly, there need to be at least 3 bids.
Yes.
Right. Generally speaking, the procurement process is held up if there isn't another bid. The reason why you need competition is because competition is what drives up quality of care.
Correct.
Or quality of service, right? And so that's perhaps out of which all of his testimony was fire.
Yeah.
but perhaps the most glaring thing out of that for me is you're not competing these contracts that you're giving to these specific private companies to take care of veterans. And so what that's doing is compromising the care for veterans and compromising the ability for veterans to be able to receive the type of care that they need for the type of conditions that they've experienced. I don't know if you guys remember when HerVetVoice did the review on that big contract that they're doing, how they're trying to do the, I think it's the big community care contract.
Mm-hmm.
One of the issues for that is that they use the contract type called the IDIQ, so this indefinite
Yes.
delivery, indefinite quantity. And
Yes.
so by using that contract type, it's probably a firm fixed price. What
Yes.
this means, family, is that the contract is going to get paid regardless of what kind of performance they
Quality
give, right?
or
And when
quantity.
when
Yep.
they use words like set aside, that means it's set aside for small business, right? So which means when they set aside it, they set aside for certain small business concerns.
Yes.
The problem, the only, and I love the fact that small businesses get a piece of the pie. The government probably procures to the tune of about $140 billion annually for small business procurements only. Like these are businesses who just compete in the small business world for what would generally be set aside for large contractors. Like they can't compete with the larger people like Amazon and Microsoft. So they give small businesses a piece of the pie. So they set aside this for them. But even when you do that, you're supposed to compete for the ones that require quality of care. Listen, y'all, anytime you do stuff for veterans, you
It
need
has
quality and performance.
Quality.
You
Yes.
gotta have that quality element. And so yeah, that's why I had to look on my face when he said
6
that.
billion without competition.
Without competition, one bid, and that's unacceptable behavior in the procurement world.
All right, let's keep going.
And also for both the written statement of Ms. Madney and Mr. Stratton will be entered into the hearing record. I would now like to recognize Mr. Ritchie for 5 minutes for his opening remarks.
Chairman Bost, Ranking Member Takano, members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to testify today. My name is Mark Ritchie, and I am on the board of the National Federal Development Association, or NFDA. The nonprofit NFDA represents the private sector partners who have invested billions in the infrastructure essential to the VA mission. We are not just vendors, we are the bridge between private capital and the public service of our nation's veterans. We understand the mechanics of the federal real estate leasing market better than most, and we are here today to express our strong support for HR 6599, the Leasing and Infrastructure Act of 2025. The bill provides for common sense solutions by adopting modern standards. And if I leave you with anything today, it is by adoption of these reforms, we will be able to deliver timely, cost-effective medical facilities for use by our nation's veterans. The testimony should also serve to answer the question, why does VA keep coming back to Congress for additional money to fund these lease projects?
Please answer him.
The three major takeaways are the methodology the VA utilizes to determine rent for these projects makes no sense. 2, current use of full service leases for a 20-year period actually adds to the cost of these important projects. And 3, the linear VA GSA approval process adds significant time to the delivery of these important facilities. I think we can agree the requisite agency's intentions are to protect taxpayers, all while serving our vets. In reality, the current VA GSA OMB process is dysfunctional, and by maintaining the status quo, these bid busts will continue to haunt us. Why? You will be asked again and again to approve prospectuses that aren't worth the paper they are printed on. While my written testimony delves deeper into these 3 pillars, I believe the best place to start is in the middle of the story. We're on May 1, 2024, nearly 2 years after approval of the PACT Act. The Senate Veterans Affairs Committee hosted a business meeting with then VA Secretary McDonough. Among the topics discussed were the 31 PACT Act leases, and in his remarks to Senator Tillis, Secretary McDonough commented, and I'm paraphrasing, McDonough might need to come back and ask to reauthorize at a higher cost level. We've seen anywhere between 60 and 150% above the authorized level.
Mm.
My written testimony details the timeline of this odyssey, so I won't address that now. However, an experienced industry practitioner can quickly determine the viability of these projects within minutes of review of the initial authorization request. I'm not here to castigate VA, as the VA does the best it can with the tools provided. Unfortunately, we've provided the VA with a jeweler's hammer when a sledgehammer is required. HR 6599 is not just a leasing bill. It is a clinical access bill. When a lease award is delayed by years due to bureaucratic friction, that is time veterans spend waiting for the care they have earned. By removing the government premium and streamlining authority, we ensure that taxpayer dollars go toward veteran health rather than administrative waste. HR 6599 provides the VA with the necessary tools to build a responsive, modern healthcare network while remaining fiscally accountable. By modernizing cost estimation, adopting market-based leasing structures, and establishing independent authority, the committee can dissolve the gridlock that has stalled veteran care. The NFDA believes this legislation is a prudent way to ensure that taxpayer dollars are used efficiently to build the 21st century facilities the VA mission requires. We urge the committee to move forward with these essential reforms to ensure our veterans receive the high-quality facilities they have earned and deserve. Chairman Boss, thanks to you and your committee for your laser focus on this important issue. I look forward to your questions.
Thank you, Mr. Ritchie. And Mr. Ritchie's statement,
I'll put it in
written
the chat.
statement of Mr. Ritchie will be entered into the hearing record. And finally, we want to recognize Ms. Ken, but not before we say welcome back after the delivery of your daughter. And this is our first time appearing before us since that. And congratulations. Now you're recognized for 5 minutes for your opening statement.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chairman Bost, Ranking Member Takano, and members of the committee, on behalf of the men and women of the Veterans of Foreign Wars of the United States and its auxiliary, thank you for the opportunity to present the VFW's views on pending legislation. The VFW's full written statement addresses nearly all the bills on today's agenda, but I would like to briefly highlight four key pieces of legislation. The VFW appreciates Chairman Bost's leadership in bringing attention to the governance issues caused by VA's VISN structure by introducing HR 6733, the VISN Reform Act of 2025. After years of Inspector General reports documenting inconsistencies in healthcare delivery and serious patient safety concerns across the VISN structure, we strongly believe that reform is necessary. However, since VA has already begun restructuring and consolidating its 18 VISNs, the VFW would like to better understand the impact of those ongoing efforts before fully endorsing large-scale statutory changes. We want to ensure that reforms improve accountability and consistency without reducing flexibility at the local level or negatively affecting veterans' access to care. We look forward to continuing to work with the committee on this important issue. The VFW supports HR 6843, the Establishing the Veterans Economic Opportunity and Transition Administration Act of 2025. This legislation would create a fourth administration within VA dedicated to the economic opportunity and transition programs. This would include education benefits, voc rehab and employment, housing loan programs, and transition assistance. The VFW believes these programs deserve focused leadership and resources to help veterans successfully transition to civilian life while allowing VBA to focus on disability compensation claims and appeals. The VFW supports 4114, the Ensuring Veterans Smooth Transition or EVEST Act. This legislation would automatically enroll transitioning service members into the VA healthcare system within 60 days of VA receiving the necessary information from the Department of Defense. It would also preserve veterans' ability to opt out. The VFW strongly supports efforts to create a seamless transition from DoD to VA. Too many veterans leave military service without immediately connecting to the benefits and health care that they've earned. The first year after service often brings challenges surrounding mental health, employment, housing stability, and increased risks for suicide. Automatic enrollment helps create a warm handoff and reduces barriers to critical services. Veterans should not have to navigate unnecessary hurdles simply to access the health care that they've earned. Finally, the VFW supports the discussion draft to establish an office for toxic exposure implementation and oversight, and an assistant secretary for toxic exposure coordination within VA. The implementation of the PACT Act and toxic exposure policy now touches nearly every part of VA, including healthcare, disability compensation, research, outreach, and workforce planning. The VFW supports creating centralized leadership to improve coordination and accountability across these efforts. We also encourage the committee to consider transparency measures as part of this proposal. Veterans deserve greater visibility into how VA evaluates toxic exposures and presumptive conditions. We would like to see clearer public communication regarding which exposures and conditions are under review, estimated timelines for presumptive evaluations, and how scientific evidence is being assessed. Veterans exposed to toxins should not be left uncertain about whether their conditions are being considered or where the progress stands. Chairman Boss, Ranking Member Takano, this concludes my remarks. I'm prepared to answer any questions you or the members of the committee may have.
Thank you, Ms. Keenan. The written statement of Ms. Keenan.
So let's pause here for a second. When we talk about, she said a mouthful, okay? When it comes to the PACT Act and toxic exposure, they need a separate department when it comes to that. It has grown to be very big. There are many, many different areas when it comes to TARA, which is the toxic exposure. When it comes to that, getting the letter, getting the documentation, finding out if you qualify, how does it work? That needs its own department. Now, since the PACT Act came about, thousands, I mean, I could probably say thousands of veterans have filed more claims on top of that. And then we still get people who get denied for PACT Act claims, right? It needs to be separated. What is your take on that, Craig?
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. I think that I think what happened with the PACT Act bill was, I don't know that the VA was prepared for the onslaught of claims that they were going to get. And then that's the reason why, if you notice, that's the reason. Remember when they put that cutoff date on there that said, hey, listen, you have until this time to submit your PACT Act claim.
2020. Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So everybody was trying to put their claims in before that August 10th date. And the thing about it is, I think there was a lot of confusion because veterans are like, well, do I need to submit something different than I would have normally done it? And then remember HerVetVoice, remember when they released the whole toxic exposure risk list,
Yes.
you know, and it's like, oh, jump on the list if you've been
You need to
exposed
do an
burn pits.
exam. You need to, and I
got to do all
remember
of it.
I filled out the form, and then I had somebody that talked to me about all the exposure. Now
Right.
they don't do any of that
And
anymore. And you
so
can't
they
find
did
the
all
law.
of that. They collected all of that,
Yeah.
and then they sat on it, right?
Yeah.
And I you know, Dwayne might be able to speak to this a little bit more, but they did all that. They sat on it, and I don't even know if they look at the fact that you've added your name to the list or not, right? Like I don't even think they recognize that. So it's just another thing that the VA has just sat on the side of pocket and said, we're gonna start throwing money on it, and we're gonna start paying attention to it when Congress tells us we need to. Listen, I'm gonna tell you, listen, let me get on my soapbox just 1 second, HerVetVoice, if you don't mind.
Go
And
ahead.
I'm about to take a text real quick. I'm gonna take a text and preach real quick. Let me, here's the thing. As we move on into this congressional hearing, you guys, I want you to think about it in terms of 3 categories. Think about it in terms of access, facilities, and care.
Mhm.
Access, facilities, and care. when you're listening to these different people speak, right? Sometimes they may try to use words that go over our heads. Don't listen, don't be distracted by that. Think about it in terms of access for veterans, facilities, like, and I'm talking about facilities for veterans that are meaningful facilities, that are clean, facilities that are adequate for veterans, right?
Yeah.
Space, right?
Mhm.
The reason why the VA is being called on the carpet right now is because if you have any history with VA care facilities, they have been atrocious for veterans, right? Some VA care facilities you wouldn't even take your dog to. That's just how bad they are, right?
Oh,
And
wait.
so
Yeah,
that's
4 times according to the CMS.
absolutely. So that's the facilities piece. And then the last part of it is care. As we move through this congressional hearing, what you'll notice is the doctors who speak, the congressmen who happen to be doctors, the ones that are in the medical profession or in the medical field, you will see them have a particular tendency on the care piece and making
Yes.
sure that veterans get the care that they need.
Yeah.
But honestly, family, in all of those specific areas, what I want you to look for, I want you to look for the money. I want you to look for the money in all those areas that they talk about, because some congressmen and women are going to talk about they're going to lean more on the facilities piece because that's their constituency, because that's where they feel like they can get the money. Some congressmen going to lean more on the care piece because that's their constituency. That's where they feel like they can get the money. And then some congressmen going to lean on the access piece because they feel like, oh, this is my constituency. This is where I can get the money, right? It's all about congressional appropriation. And they're going to talk a little bit about non-appropriated funds, something called the Anti-Deficiency Act, where you ain't supposed to go get no money if the money ain't there. You're not supposed to obligate money if the money ain't there, right? And so for specific things that have to do with those three categories, that's a really good framework to look at it from.
Dwayne says, as a VA rater, I never looked at it under VHA. It is under VHA, not VBA. Also, most of the time, different have a bearing on the claim. The veteran still had to meet the certain criteria. And this is
correct.
I had some of the disabilities before the PACT Act even came out. Right? All those things that after they came out, they're like, okay, I'm already ready for these things, So I really do think, and I've seen something here that RT said, specialized teams do not necessarily mean faster decisions. But here, we're not talking about having a faster decision. We're talking about creating a specialized team that would focus on the processing, and it would do quality over quantity. And it will also be helping to eliminate the amount of denials that are currently happening because they don't have the experience. Right? That's what we're talking about. We're talking about that part, because we think if they have a specific team to pack that in Terra, then it would eliminate some of the questions that veterans have. It would eliminate some of the problems. It would eliminate some of the paperwork. It will eliminate some of all these different questions when it comes to the Terra memos and why I can't see my memo and what's my exposure and if I qualify. That specialized team will help eliminate some of the problems that raters are currently experiencing right now.
Right. Absolutely. And I think to sort of respond to what you're saying, RT365, and I appreciate the comment. The reality is, there are veterans who I've worked with who have passed away from toxic exposure, from the cancers associated with toxic exposure, and we're never able to get service connected for them. Right. Like, so the reality of it is, had there been some sort of attention paid to the fact that they had real cancers, real diseases, real issues, then it could have possibly been that they would have been able to get the benefits and compensation for their families that they needed before that. And yes, I see your comment here. The veteran does have to meet the required criteria, such as diagnosis. That has never changed and will never change.
Yeah.
I think what we're advocating for is attention to be paid to that, and not to have over 800,000 PACT Act claims not be paid attention to at all. That number is probably up over 1 million now.
Yeah,
So
it is. Dwayne Campbell has shown you some love. He said, I'm subscribing with support. Nugget Man has been around for a
Hey.
while, so thanks for the support.
thanks, OG. I appreciate it, man.
Let's see here. VA is unorganized for sure. Absolutely, you're correct. Hey, San Diego Marine, what is happening? How are you? He's just saying hey to everybody else. But one of the things I wanted to talk about here before we go ahead, when we look at the 800,000 claims that are filed in reference to PACT Act, right? How many of them have went to the BVA?
That's a great question.
For just something that's what?
Mhm.
Very small. I just had a
Mhm.
client the other night. Oh no, I was on TikTok the other night, and we had a guy that said he was talking about his migraines, and he had an attorney, and the attorney sent his stuff to the BVA. And natural, we were on at the same time, and we couldn't look at each other because she doesn't show. But I really wanted to look at her, and she said, "What? Are you kidding me? Your attorney sent something for migraines to the BVA?"
Mm. Wow.
So imagine how many and I know Dwayne is probably going to comment on this, how many people's claims are now at the BVA level because of the lack of understanding when it comes to PACT Act, or the lack of, like what somebody says, unorganized, the lack of organization when it comes to toxic exposure and when it comes to the PACT Act.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree 100% with that. And I think, yeah, the issue with BVA is, I often say to people, like, that should be a last resort. If something's going to the BVA in that way, then it means some ball got dropped on the VBA side of
Yes.
things. If something's going that far to the BVA, particularly for a PACT Act claim, there should have been specific guidelines when this legislation was working through. You'll see the lady there, Miss Keenan, who was with the VFW, and some of the other veteran services organizations pushed hard for that legislation to go through.
Yeah.
When it actually did go through, I feel like there was so much congressional fighting that nobody took the time to say, do we have the infrastructure to actually support
Yeah.
these claims that are coming through? Because we know we have over 1 million veterans who have been impacted by toxic exposure. So
And
yeah,
here's
it's a mess.
there have been no more raiders hired since
Mm.
they what is that thing that they had, the
Oh, the RIF, the
yeah,
reduction in force. Yeah.
reduction in force, and all those people left, and what he got rid of. A raider hasn't been hired since then.
Yeah. Well, then, but you know what that also led to, and Dwayne can pop in for a second, but what that also led to was the raiders that were there that had the experience, they got overloaded, right?
Yeah.
And anybody new that they hire now won't have the experience to actually be able to work through that, right? They might have to reference their coach, and a lot of times their coach hasn't even touched a claim in a while, or never touched a claim at all. So,
Dwayne
yeah.
said it would be really hard to have a team for PACT Act due to the amount of claims filed. Yes, I was on an email for Agent Orange back in 2010 for a year, and we became overwhelmed.
I know y'all did.
I would want to know how many of those veterans with those BVA claims that has claim agents or lawyers. If so, it's about Dwayne. Don't
Yeah.
Sunday.
Follow the money.
Hey, follow the money, but let's hit
Follow the
play.
money.
Let's hit play. Let's hit play.
Will be entered into the hearing record. We now will proceed to questions, and I will yield myself 5 minutes. Ms. Madney, can you explain the importance of authorizing appropriated funds?
Absolutely, Mr. Chairman. I think I could talk to you about the generalities of why Congress has an oversight responsibility, but perhaps it's more effective to start with an example. In 2001, multiple things of significant importance to the VA happened. Of course, in September of that year, we had the start of the global war on terror, given 9/11. We also had the expiration of the Centers for Mental Illness Research, Education, and Clinical Activities at the VA. That program is continuing as an expired authorization that is receiving appropriations around $6.5 million. That mental illness research that was expired but continuing to be an unauthorized appropriation in 2001 is not sufficient for veterans' needs. And I'll explain how we know this. In 2001, we'll even take the next year, 2002, to be generous. The rate of suicide deaths for veterans per 100,000 was 24.2 veterans, already far too high. 24.2 back then. Now, the latest data we have is from 2023. The rate of suicides per 100,000 is 35.2 veterans.
Oh my God.
We've gone up from 24 veterans dying by suicide per 100,000.
Can I ask you something there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so where were your numbers from on that? Because that's not the same numbers that we're lining up with. I don't think, but okay. On the amount of suicides this last
Yeah.
report.
This is per 100,000.
Oh, per 100,000. Okay,
Yes,
thank
sir.
you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Let me know. Thank you. I was going per day. Sorry.
No, I thought that might be where you were going. It is actually the same data set, but I've adjusted
Okay, thank
it.
you.
So per 100,000, we've gone up significantly. Well, what else has happened during that time? The mental health research and underlying programs at the VA have been receiving unauthorized appropriations. Now, that doesn't mean that we shouldn't be funding mental health research for veterans. What it means is that we need to be re-examining that program so it is properly tailored to the needs of today's veterans. As you mentioned during your opening statement, Mr. Chairman, what is going on now is really focused on an entirely new generation of the veterans population. Well, that new generation needs attention just as much as previous generations.
Right. Thank you. Mr. Stratton, VA has repeatedly asked this committee for increased flexibility in our legislative proposals. How would continuing to give VA the flexibility hurt accountability and Congress's oversight capabilities?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Flexibility is, critically important, especially with programs like this. However, anytime an agency or department, asks for these things, they should be up for the committee answering questions on their plans for implementation. Once it's implemented, the progress of that. They should be up here, they should be in briefings, they should be answering, in public hearings on the status of, implementing laws and their plans to improve such programs. If they're asking for money and flexibility, they should be answering your questions and telling you how they plan to spend that.
Thank you. Mr. Ritchie?
Come on here.
Can you walk us?
Let me pause.
Listen, that'll preach right there all day. Listen, and twice every day and twice on Sunday, that'll preach what he just said.
So many do not know that VSO's claim agents and lawyers add to the backlog due to not wording our Dwayne. Wayne.
Yes, sir.
Dwayne. Before we go any further, let me just say this, and this was something I wrote down the other day, and I was listening to actually a documentary on veterans and the whole attorney type situation. Because you hold the title of an attorney and you have studied law, okay, does not necessarily mean that you understand the legal aspects of things when it comes to the veteran part of law. Criminal law, civil law, and whatever else law they got, contracting law, and
corporate law,
law there is totally different from the law side, the legal side, when it comes to the veteran community. A lot of veterans put their heart and soul into attorneys. Just because you hold a JD does not mean that you hold the JD in the area, okay? And I put an ER on that area because y'all don't be getting it sometimes, to show that you know about veterans and the legal aspect of it. Dwayne has said a mouthful right here, okay? Wording is one big thing that I see all the time. Filing the claim the right way and causes more development, which means that the claim will be around. Then he said, there are many good ones out there, but some have no clue. All right.
That's the truth. That's the truth.
Because I see a lot of people like, oh, you need an attorney. I've seen people that had an attorney came over to me for a consultation that paid an attorney a whole lot of money and still ain't yielding Nathaniel.
I think,
don't have that understanding.
That's actually that's an excellent point. One of the things I said in my last video, the last live that I did was, what you're talking about right now, HerVetVoice, is a specialization in, say, military law or or veteran law,
Yeah.
or even disability law, right? Like a lot of like if a lawyer doesn't specialize in that, right? Like they can be an attorney, right? And have their credentials to do the law. But honestly, in a lot of those firms, what I think what you'll find is that the attorneys are just providing the legal level of oversight. They don't have the skill set. There's no skill set. I think a lot of veterans think, oh, if I give it to a lawyer, they're gonna make the VA do something. They're not gonna make the VA do anything. I'm gonna tell y'all. Can I just tell y'all straight up? They're not gonna make the VA do nothing. No Raider, no Dro, none of those folks are gonna be like, oh, just because. Do you know how? Listen, do you know how many requests they get from attorneys? On a daily basis, they get a lot, right? And as Dwayne's talking about, there's a backlog of claims that they have, and a lot of times it's because there's not the skill set there. But I'm gonna say this real quick before we press play again. HerVetVoice voice. I'm gonna say this.
Okay.
I think, and I have a video coming out about this really soon. I think that there's a reason why it takes people like you and Dwayne and others so long to get accredited, because I think that that's by design. I feel like that's by design,
You from
right?
being, yeah.
They don't listen. They don't. Do you honestly think that the VA wants more skilled people processing claims?
No, because they have to give away more money.
Listen. You said it best. You said it best. Yeah, but I'm gonna be quiet. I'm gonna shut my mouth and I'm gonna
Let's hit play. Let's hit play.
It's true. Why OMB's current cost methodology is insufficient for estimating VA infrastructure projects today?
Thank you for that question. And that is really the crux of everything in regards to
I understand.
6599. Basically, on day one, when the VA looks to develop these clinics, the first thing they do is figure out where the veteran census is. Then they figure out how much it is going to cost or how much rent that they can pay. The OMB has a directive or a dictate in regards to they must use a specific piece of software or product that only calculates office rents. And if you've been to a clinic, these are nothing like office buildings. So day one, they effectively are given a bad roadmap. Then they go out to the market with their lease prospectus numbers that, as we know from last year, were between 60 and 150% below the actual rental costs. So something is wrong there, but using this software product, it just isn't appropriate. It just doesn't work for general purpose medical buildings or medical facilities.
I think I'm a little over on time, but I still want Ms. Ken, can you share with us why OMB scorekeeping guidelines might need to be reevaluated?
I don't know the context of your question, so I don't have any comments at this time. Thank you.
All right. I will yield 5 minutes to ranking member.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Keenan, I'd like to begin, Ms. Keenan, I'd like to begin with you. Craig, also congratulations on the arrival of your child. The chairman removed HR 1732, Mr. Pappas's Guard VA Benefits Act from today's agenda, meaning it will no longer be considered. VFW spoke strongly in favor of that legislation at a joint VSO hearing, at joint VSO hearings earlier this year. Do you believe that the Guard VA Benefits Act should be considered by this committee, marked up and brought to the House floor for a vote? That's one question. And what is the importance of getting this legislation done for the VFW?
Thank you, Ranking Member, for that question. Yes, the VFW strongly wants to see the GUARD Act move forward. And every day that it doesn't, unaccredited claim sharks continue to exploit veterans and their benefits.
Oh, we need to pause
the longer
right here,
that
my
this,
sister.
this waits, the more veterans are going to be subject to some of this exploitation.
Yes, thank you. It's my, the states are, some states are moving ahead with strong protections, others more permissive protections that allow veterans to be targeted. So there really is a need for the federal government to enforce protections, establish protections for our veterans from being targeted. Would you agree with that?
Yes, a federal solution is probably the best way to solve this problem.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Mr. Stratton, your testimony highlights the need for robust congressional oversight, and I couldn't agree with you more. But I noticed your testimony didn't speak to any of the individual bills on the agenda today. Do you think that any of these bills will actually enhance our ability to oversee VA? Because these bills seem to be focused on bringing more private interests into policymaking than holding the administration accountable. That's kind of where I see things.
Yeah, thank you. Pogo hasn't taken a position on any of the pieces of legislation. A lot of this is beyond our expertise. However, we do support Congress looking at programs more broadly and assessing if the department's currently meeting the needs of veterans, and if some of these bills
Ooh,
are
I'm squirming in
needed.
my
So we're
seat.
supportive of the process overall,
Awesome.
but not any of the underlying pieces of legislation.
All right, well, thank you. Mr. Ritchie, study after study, whether by GAO, VA, OIG, and others have found the problem with VA's delayed or failed procurements lie with VA itself. Inadequate funding to conduct planning activities, multi-layered project development and governance structure, unnecessarily detailed solicitations, and a failure to gauge market pricing have made it more challenging for VA to open new medical facilities on time and on cost. Mr. Ritchie, would you support a proposal that would give VA leasing authority independent of the General Services Administration, so
That's
there
for
would be
GSA.
even fewer guardrails?
Yes, that is, yes.
Mhm.
So you would support a VA leasing authority independent of the GAO?
Yes, and my understanding prior to 2011,
The stricter.
2012, VA had its own leasing authority.
How will giving VA more power and taking the actual federal real estate experts out of this process be an improvement?
So I would argue that at least in construction facilities management, you have many executives there that had come from the VA. So they were trained in VA processes, one. Two, at least the third parties or the private sector partners believe that the process that the VA undergoes is very, very rigid. And basically, they believe the process is very rigid, and we don't necessarily see problems with having VA oversight.
Okay, moving on. How does this legislation improve the institutional challenges as identified by VA's OIG, which have led to project delivery failures and repeated bid busts?
Okay, so very multi-layered question. I'll try to do the best I can in the time, and I have 17 seconds to answer that. That'd be difficult to answer in 17 questions.
Okay,
17
well, we'll
seconds.
have to get it to you from maybe a written response.
That would be fine.
Okay, I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Gentleman yields back.
Let me take
Representative Van Orton.
But D,
It was a lot. It was a lot right there.
I don't know if y'all remember a few weeks ago when I did the hearing on the veterans who were getting ready to be homeless because they got rid of the VAST program. And Latrell was talking about the home inspectors and the certification that they had to hold, where everybody outside of the VA can get their inspector stuff in 6 months. But for the VA, it took 18 plus months. And he was trying to figure out, why is it so strict and robust that it's taking everybody else on the outside to get the inspector license, but the VA process seemed to be very intense? Why is it that everything that the VA has to do, it has to be 10 times more challenging, i.e. becoming an accredited agent to get to the next level?
Yeah, this.
Go back to the whole leasing thing that he
Right.
was just talking about.
Yeah, this is traditionally GSA, which is General Services Administration for you guys. GSA is responsible for all leasing, renting properties, motor vehicles, all of those things, right? Those are typically GSA contracts. What Rep Takano, I think that's his name, Rep Takano, I think what he's
Yes.
saying is, for this piece with regard to taking away the medical facilities piece, is it possible to give that purview over to the VA? And then Mr. Ritchie says, well, he didn't necessarily see a problem with it. I think the issue that we would have to lobby for and look for as veterans is to say, is the VA going to streamline those processes that HerVetVoice is saying takes so long, or are they going to make it easier for veterans to get access? Remember, we talked about access, facilities, and care, right? So are they gonna make it harder than it already is to get VA approvals through? Because what Rep. Takano was hinting at is that the GSA experts are not necessary. All they trying to do is get the building up, get it leased, get the money. That's it. That's all the GSA wants to do.
Yes.
But what we're hoping VA professionals who have doctors, they understand that you have to have facilities that have specific access for those who are differently abled. You have to have this, the whole conversation is utilization, right? What they were talking about was you can't look at it like an office building. That's what GSA looks at it like, office utilization. No, this is a medical facility. It's people up in here sick. You can't. This is not an office building, right? Like you can't look at it from the same metrics. And so there needs to be somebody needs to be the grown up in the room when it comes to understanding what facility access looks like for veterans who have specific serious urgent medical conditions.
Nobody can ever answer the question straightforward of how to streamline the process. What is the process? How does it help with
Absolutely.
this process? And what challenges are going to come about? What happened to project management? Do we not have that in the VA? I'm trying to understand, because where's the agile? Where's the project management department that will be able to see these problems before they actually come about and get them resolved before streamlining the process? That's where I'm lost in.
Well, if you think about the congressional hearing, I think that was right after this, where Secretary Collins was talking about they have a hard time even hiring doctors. So if they have a hard time hiring doctors and medical professionals, hiring program managers and project management officers, which you need both. You need both. You need somebody who has the healthcare administration piece, and you need somebody who has the doctoral piece. Where they're failing right now is on both ends. Because doctors, I'm gonna tell y'all want to know why doctors won't come to the VA, even though they're throwing them upwards of $300,000 a year. The reason why doctors won't come to the VA is because of the working conditions. They don't get the support that they need, and also if they're doing that tuition assistance thing, they get locked into the VA. Nobody wants to work for the VA for 10 years. Just to pay off a student loan. They don't want to do that.
Why not?
So you're gonna have problems. You're gonna have problems getting and listen. You're not getting the doctors that come out of these stringent, strict, prestigious medical programs. You're getting doctors that are just looking for that first job after intern, or after being intern after medical school, right? So the whole idea is again, care is that piece. That's that third element, care, that we need to look at, right? And HerVetVoice is right. It's just the VA and veterans have always, for whatever reason, been on the last rung. And I'm grateful that there's more attention being paid to veterans issues and veterans concerns. I just need them to move it along a little bit. Come on, y'all. I need them to move it along. Y'all have the money to do it. Y'all got the resources to do it. Let's move it along.
All right, let's hit play.
Recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Keenan, I've for years now had the pleasure of calling you my fellow veteran and my friend, and now it's great to call you Mom. That's so awesome. I'm so happy. It's just wonderful. I'd like to speak briefly on a bill, HR 6843, that's been introduced by my dear friend, Mr. Siskamani from Arizona. And I think it's incredibly important, being the chairman of the subcommittee for economic opportunity, that we actually have a group of folks at the VA that are going to focus specifically on transition. It's critically important. Most of our veterans that unfortunately commit suicide do it within about 24 months after retiring. And I got a commitment from the CNO yesterday. We've got a commitment from the Secretary of of war and also of the VA that they're going to focus more on this, and it's going to be
Let me just say that Dougie and Pete Boy, they lied to you. That's all I'm going to say.
a more seamless transition from active duty to being a veteran. And I'm very proud of them, Mr. Collins and Mr. Hegseth, for doing so. So Mr. Siscomani is a great patriot. He has a huge active duty population in this district, and he is focusing on them as he should. And I'm very proud also to call him my friend. So I would just urge all my colleagues to support HR 6843 to make sure that we can continue to have a fantastic group of American patriots, not just veterans. And with that, I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Representative Brownlee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And before I ask a question or two, I just wanted to make note in this meeting that I'm disappointed that my bill, HR 4876, the Reproductive Freedom for Veterans Act, was removed from today's legislative hearing. It addresses an important issue that impacts veterans' health, certainly veterans' equity to health care, and I will continue to urge this committee to include it in future hearings. So with that, Ms. Keenan, congratulations. I don't want to be the only member on the dais that doesn't congratulate you today, so congratulations. So I wanted to ask a question around dental care. Between October 2024 and September of 2025, nearly 888,000 veterans received dental care, which is just about 1/3 of eligible veterans to receive dental care. The VA operates approximately 1,380 healthcare facilities, but dental care is available at just over 200 of those sites, which just represents about 15% of all VHA locations. What have your members experienced when seeking dental care services at the VA, given the limited number of dental care providers?
Thank you for the question. Veterans using VA care experience hurdles with accessing dental care. Even when they have a service-connected injury related to their dental care, it still is very location-specific and facility-specific if they can get their care within their VA.
Has transportation been also a barrier to that, or?
Transportation can always be a barrier, especially
Yep.
for rural veterans. So access to that care can be limited depending on where they live.
So also 25% of younger veterans have dental insurance, and only 1/3 of older veterans have dental insurance. Older veterans have worse oral health outcomes than non-veterans, and younger veterans are less likely to have dental insurance than older veterans. So how has these age-related differences in dental care access affected members that you serve?
Well, I think the biggest difference is some of the health conditions that our older veterans are experiencing. And dental care is part of health care. It can be a preventive care, but it can also impact veterans with serious health conditions. So the conditions that our older veterans are experiencing may be different than some of our younger veterans, but the dental care in combination with some of their serious health conditions can make things worse.
Thank you. And I will just end on just wanting to weigh in on this leasing issue and taking it out of GSA and putting it back into the decision-making of the VA. I spent, I don't know, the first 6 years since I've been in Congress working on this issue, trying to get it out of the VA to the GSA where the experience lies. And I think the process has moved a lot smoother since that happened. I will tell you, in the first 6 years or so, I can't remember exactly the time frame, but nothing moved. I mean, it just went on and on and on. And I know this particular bill says, oh, well, it will have to be done within a 1-year time frame. I can assure you that the VA is not going to be able to meet that requirement absolutely, they will not be able to. So I think it's where it needs to be. And with that, I yield back.
The gentlewoman yields back. Representative Barrett, you're recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you all for being here. Of course, congratulations on your newfound status as a mom. I will warn you, I have 4 kids of my own, so I have to give you unsolicited parental advice, of course. And all I can tell you is this is a life sentence. So, and if you doubted that, I am recently turned 45 years old, and my mom still worries about me. So, so it's a great thing. And thank you to our panel for being here today. I wanted to just open up and kind of lay out a foundation of some of the work that we're doing. I had introduced HR 6833, the Acquisition Reform and Cost Assessment Act, known as the ARCA Act for short, topic of conversation today, really kind of tackling this issue of chronic bureaucracy and how that can delay implementation and get lost in the weeds of what our actual mission is, which is to deliver care and benefits to veterans who've earned that. But the VA has a really poorly structured acquisition and contracting process, and it really does bog down the progress we're trying to make. It fails to provide real accountability for underperforming contractors. Some of these contracts get needlessly delayed. When that happens, the costs go up for taxpayers, and that cuts into the services that ought to be preserved for our veterans. When more is going out the door in one way, it takes less than that we are delivering to actual veterans. One way that we just saw this very recently, the DOJ just indicted a former executive at the VA who was responsible for a huge portion of this electronic health record modernization effort, something that has plagued the VA for years, something that falls squarely within the portfolio of what the subcommittee that I have the privilege of leading is really looking at, is this electronic health record modernization that's so critical for veterans across the country. We were saddened to see this indictment. I don't want to presume anyone's guilt or innocence from here. Of course, we have a process for playing that out, but I think it does certainly raise the alarm bells of what we ought to be looking at as far as accountability within the VA. And having an acquisition process, I think, is really important to that. Now, with that being said, I'd like to hear some of your all thoughts on this effort, starting with Ms. Madney. Did I say that correctly? Very good. Can you talk a little bit more, explain to us a little bit more about how ballooning contracts and acquisitions have continued to increase overall spending without increasing benefits for veterans? It's one thing if we're spending more money to increase benefits and outcomes, but if we're just spending more money without doing that, I'd be curious on your take on those.
Well, we shouldn't be doing it.
Yes, absolutely.
No, you put it very well, sir. If you are increasing funding without improving outcomes, then what you're actually doing is making outcomes worse. And I know that might seem counterintuitive. Shouldn't it just be a net neutral? But the reality of the situation is no. As I mentioned in my written testimony, as spending increases, you increase inflation, you increase unaffordability. And so what ends up happening is that the overall market prices are driven up by transfer payments, inflationary pressures, et cetera, which means when you do eventually get to following through on some of these contracts, they will be expensive. They will be even more expensive. So you actually have this multi-layered, multi-tiered problem. The only way to fix that is to perform regular oversight and hold the VA accountable. And I think your bill is an excellent first step to that. I would also suggest perhaps having a series of more robust oversight hearings to see their steps and whether or not they're following through.
Thank you for that. I think I learned years ago, I worked in Michigan for the state treasurer probably 15 or so years ago. And we had this point that I learned, which is separating the difference between outputs and outcomes. You can spend a lot of money on outputs that don't actually change the outcomes. And especially the work that we do on this committee should be focused really heavily on the outcomes for veterans, that, instead of looking at how much we spend on something specifically, well, what was the outcome of that, not just the outputs within it. Ms. Keenan, if you wouldn't mind, I had a question for you. How does the lack of congressional oversight over the VA acquisition process hurt veterans in your opinion?
Here we go.
Thank you for the question. I think our main concern is failures to properly modernize systems effectively, efficiently, and using the funding appropriately. So additional oversight, we're totally on board with some of the provisions in the bill and sort of the efforts to try to rein in and oversee some of these major projects to avoid any kind of delays and waste of taxpayer money. I think that's the goal with this kind of proposal.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yield back. Thank you.
Gentleman yield back. Mr. Garvey, you are recognized.
Let me pause. Let me pause. Go ahead. I'll let you go.
I'm just gonna say, I'm just gonna say when she's talking about oversight. Okay, a couple of things. One, I'll be quick because I really want to hear HerVetVoice's take on this. The first thing that I'm noticing is that so in VA contracting or federal contracting, period, right? What we tend to do is we have what I call like a fraud, waste, and abuse cycle, meaning the same people get the same contracts the same time over and over and over and over and over again. And the reality is what they're talking about is there should be a contracting officer representative for every single contract who's responsible for the quality. There should be what's called the quality assurance surveillance plan for every contract. And for every contract, there should be someone saying, are we actually getting the performance? Are we actually getting the incentive for what we're paying for? And what she's saying is, what Ms. Keenan is saying is, we are looking for oversight to make sure that this money that we keep spending gets to the right spots in the right places, right? To help veterans get what they need instead of going back into lobbying, back to some of these other private company interests, back to some of these other folks who have a vested interest in propping themselves up as helping veterans, but not really helping veterans, right? The issue is, where is all of this money going? And this really is, and we found out that the VAOIG don't really have a secretary.
But no,
the VAOIG don't really have a somebody in charge, but really this
Sarah Mason and over there in charge.
It falls under the VAOIG's purview to make sure that contracted funding, right, taxpayer funding, right, is going to the spots and the places that it needs to go, so that we don't waste taxpayer dollars and that we don't waste veterans' time. So I yield my time to HerVetVoice.
3 things that stood out to me that she said: modernization. Let's talk about the EHR contract that they had previous to the one that he just came and begged for again, that say it's working, okay? Because that did not work. I posted a video of the $252 million that they paid into that contract that they ended up having to get out of. Why? Because one of their own was indicted, right? So now the contract that they do have with Oracle is a year-by-year contract, because they had to convince this same committee right here that they are going to do it year by year, and then see how they're doing, and then they will be able to pick up and pay them the money. In order for them to get that back, they had to propose that to this committee.
Absolutely.
Because they gave them $252 billion for one of them to be indicted. So then let's get to the funding use, the inappropriate funding. You come to us, you beg for $488 billion, which is a $7.7 million increase from the year before, but you can't show me Nathaniel of what worked from the year before, but you need this money. And you people that are sitting at this table, are you going to give him this money without seeing, okay, where it's going to and what it's doing? Now, the next thing is the oversight of these major projects. He comes there, he gets an attitude, he talks nasty to women, he's very disrespectful, but yet has no oversight over any single project that is happening within the VA community. 3 things that she just said that made me mad is you know what. Okay? And none of them are getting done right now. And
Yeah.
every time structure is about to come into the VA, somehow the devil always seems to work his way into the middle of the structure.
That's right.
Okay, so let's talk about it here. Modernization, funding, and oversight. 3 of the biggest problems that the VA currently have right now.
Yeah. Have any of you guys ever wondered why, with all of the electronic modernization discussion around VA's electronic health records, have any of you guys ever wondered why you still can't get access to your active duty service treatment records electronically, right? I mean,
And you got to beg for some that they say not there that you know there.
or you gotta submit an SF-180 and request your service treatment records, right? You got to do the duty to assist. You got to ask the VA to help you, and they're not really gonna help you look for it anyway, right? The reality is this is the modernization piece is something that I think the VA has been behind on for quite a long time, and it's not for lack of money in research, right? Because we know one of the things we know is if you give veterans access to that their treatment records, veterans are savvy enough, they're intelligent enough to be able to sit down, do that claim, work through what's going on, and what like HerVetVoice said earlier, that means you got to come up with more money, and you don't really want to do that.
Pay that.
You don't really want to do that. So some of the stopgaps in some of this modernization, I believe, has a lot to do with the bottom line budget. And I tell some of these folks all the time. I say, folks on my channel, I say, it's really all about the dollar. And they're like, oh no, the VA is a federal organization. Yes, they are. They're a federal organization, but guess what? They're still about that money. Because of the relationships with private organizations, which I don't think a lot of y'all really understand.
They don't.
There are relationships with private organizations. That's the reason why so many big private corporations are trying to now get into the federal business, because the reality is they understand that there's big money in there. And I won't talk too much about this, but there was a $10 billion contract for a DoD contract there was a protest about this because it was between Amazon and Microsoft. Microsoft got it. Amazon protested that they should have, and they drugged that legislation out for years. I mean, for years. They sucked it dry so much that nobody got the money, and veterans, nobody got help. Nobody got help. The IT industry, tanked. And Amazon was like, we don't care. We making billions of dollars in other places anyways. We don't care. We're just going to drag this out. We're just going to drag it out.
They passed the bill for read-only access, but VBA
hasn't implemented it.
Not the VBA.
Listen, the VBA
has not.
Listen, there's 3, by the way, guys, there's 3 parts. There's 3 elements to the VA. There's the VHA, the VBA, and the canteen service. Those are 3 elements to the VA, right? So really important to understand which element you're in. Obviously, if you're filing claims, if you're seeking benefits, aid and attendance, other benefits, that's the VBA, right? If you're talking about enrolling in VA healthcare, if you're talking about VA medical care, anything regarding VA healthcare, right? Like the just any type of care that you receive, procedures, that's the VHA. Right. And then canteen service is, I would say, it's the production arm, the goods and services arm of the VA. Oh, NCA, yes.
Yeah, we call it the canteen service.
I love the canteen service.
Thank you, Dwayne.
Thanks, Dwayne. Thanks for helping us out with that. The canteen. That must be an old school term.
It is an old school term. Stop telling us how old we are.
Let's just show you how old I am, y'all. Listen.
All right, let's hit the button.
The canteen service.
5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think maybe we should make a motion to have everyone congratulate Ms. Keenan, but until that happens, I have to also say congratulations. So, but my guess is you're going to keep getting them. So congratulations on the birth of your daughter. So, thank you for being here today. And I think, one thing about this committee is we are focused on a mission. Right? We are focused on the mission of serving our veterans. These are the men and women who put on the uniform, quite literally willing to sacrifice everything to keep us safe and keep us free. In exchange for that service, we do make a promise. We make a promise that we're going to take care of you. So when we talk about veterans benefits, we are not talking about something we are giving to someone. We are talking about something they have earned. And we are talking about a promise, both a moral and a legal promise we have made. So when veterans are trying to get the benefits they have earned and they are denied those benefits, they necessarily have the right to appeal that decision. It is part of the promise we make in exchange for service. Now, one thing that I hear about all the time in Louisville, and I know you all hear about across the country, is how long it takes to get a decision on these appeals from our veterans. This is more than just some, bureaucratic maze or some statistic. Every single veteran who is waiting for a decision on their appeal is waiting on something that might help them keep a roof over their head, put food on the table, get the treatment they need. So how do we speed these up? Now, I know as a recovering lawyer myself that lawyers are oftentimes punching bags and sometimes deserve to be. But in the veteran space that we're talking about right here with getting those appeals to get the benefits you've earned, it is lawyers in the VA who make those decisions. They are the ones writing those opinions. And we are having trouble keeping lawyers in place to do that. That is partly responsible for the backlog, which is hurting veterans. They're not able to have that roof over their head. They're not able to get that decision. They're not able to get the benefit they have earned. There is a simple fix we have proposed to make this better, not to completely fix the problem, but to make it better so our veterans get these results faster. And that is a bill I've introduced, HR 2303, the Board of Veterans Appeals Attorney Retention and Backlog Reduction Act, which is a really long name to just say we're trying to keep more attorneys here to get our veterans what they need and get it to them faster. It would allow us to promote veterans to the GS-15 spot. It is a way of retaining talented individuals and, most importantly, getting our veterans what they need. So, Ms. Keenan, you noted in your testimony that attorney attrition at the board directly contributes to the appeals backlog. Can you talk a little bit about what that backlog means for the veterans you serve at VFW?
So the backlog of appeals can take years many times for veterans. And so that wait can cause economic, financial difficulties for those veterans that are waiting to get the disability benefits or other benefits that they've earned. We do appreciate and support your legislation. I think particularly because there are other units within VA that have this promotion ability. So retaining some of those attorneys within the Board of Veterans Appeals is going to help with that backlog.
Yeah, two things you said there. One, years, right? We're not talking about weeks. We're not even talking about months. We're talking about years until veterans can get a decision on the benefit they have earned from putting on the uniform. I will also say, you mentioned that only the Board of Veterans Appeals, they don't have this ability to go to GS-15. Others do. In fact, the Board of Veterans Appeals is the only agency within the VA who doesn't have the ability to promote to a GS-15, and this would help with that retention. So I appreciate you bringing up those points. I'll ask you, do you think that keeping these experienced attorneys instead of constantly training and turning over people will improve decision quality and reduce the errors that force veterans back into the system?
Absolutely.
Okay. Wow. Everybody take note. That's how you answer a question. Other VA offices, you hit on this, they already allow these non-supervisory attorneys. Do you think that the board can realistically keep the attorneys it needs without this authority, or do you think that passing a bill is a step in the right direction to make sure that veterans get timely, accurate decisions?
I do think it would be an important change, because if there are incentives for attorneys to go elsewhere, even within the department, that's going to be tempting for anyone who wants to have a better income. So stability within the Board of Veterans Appeals is important. This would be a key way to do that.
Thank you for saying that. And I just point out, this is not about pay grades. This is not about internal VA bureaucracy. This is about getting veterans the benefits they've earned in a timely way. So I appreciate your testimony, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.
Gentleman, yield back. Dr. Murphy, you're recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you. I just want to say to my good friend, Mr. McGarvey, as an attorney coming from a physician, you missed April 14th. That was Be Kind to Lawyers Day. And as I said when I was in the General Assembly in North Carolina, I said, be kind to lawyers because they are people too. So thank you. I'll continue the litany of congratulations. Motherhood is the greatest calling of any woman. Congratulations. You know, children are going to bring you heartbreak, but they're the greatest love in your life. So congratulations. I just want to chat about a couple things. I applaud the oversight. You can't run a business without oversight. And sadly enough, our government tends to not do oversight very well and to continue unnecessary levels of haphazard bureaucracy, which in this case leads to harm, delay, et cetera, just for our veterans. So I appreciate everybody's concerted effort to try to cut through the morass of the ridiculous bureaucracy that we have. Just want to give a plug for my bill, HR 6583, which would establish a VA centralized research data system integrated with electronic records. We'll talk about that for a second, to track major research projects, funding progress, and outcomes across the VA. We don't need a haphazard system in the VA to do this. We actually have a perfect model to be able to have a really concentrated system within the VA to do good research, have it tracked, and make sure it's concerted effort and that we do it well. The bill also would create a tiered review-based system for research. So I'd appreciate everybody's support for that. I'm a researcher, done it a lot, been a scientist, et cetera. It's very important that we do good research within the VA. It was brought up a few minutes ago about our electronic healthcare system, and I never miss a chance to beat on the fact of the absolute ineptitude, negligence of what the VA has done with the electronic medical record system. What, for now 15 years? 15 years, billions of dollars, and I think it's 6 or 7 places
He just said what I
that
said.
we have a system that actually works for electronic healthcare system.
Oh, yeah.
But guess what? Help is on the way. And I think this is where the advent of artificial intelligence, the good part of this, will be able to be helpful at the VA. Speaking with a gentleman, a fellow physician this past weekend who wants to get in and talk with the VA about streamlining a system where artificial intelligence will have the ability to speak directly with the veteran, have a catalog of 15, 25,000 questions, be able to answer veterans so there aren't calls that go unanswered.
Yep.
And there's the patience of Job when listening to an artificial intelligence. We have this documented within the private system already for pre-op visits when patients call and say, hey, I don't understand this, and they go on and on and on. If we can institute this system, that will then be able to query that veteran's electronic medical record, pull data from this, and really take out the massive bureaucracy, streamline this. I think this will be actually earth-shattering for the veteran and for our future systems to be able to cut through needless human bureaucracy, get our veterans what they need. So I look forward to actually coming back in front of this committee, speaking with our VA about what would literally be the good use of AI for our veteran to cut through the human bureaucracy that has become our VA in so many different ways. So thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll yield back, but I think that's actually an envelope and a sunrise of hope for our veterans in the future to use technology to really help our guys and gals navigate what is a challenging system.
Thank you. Dr. Dexter. Notice all the doctors have stayed around. It's really neat.
What's that?
All the doctors have stayed around. It's really neat.
We're diligent.
No attorneys, though.
We are diligent. That is true. Thank you, Chair Bost, for holding this hearing, and Ms. Keenan.
I had to pause this for a second because I'm so into this, but you're trying to tell me that the attorneys at the BVA can't even get GS-15 pay?
Yeah.
And you working down there like you out there? And you want people to come every day and do such a very strenuous job, because I really don't think people understand when it comes to research and law and digging and looking and searching and medical evidence and all this type of stuff, how much it entails.
Yeah.
In order for you to be the deciding factor behind making the decision that will either make a veteran's life better or making it worse. And before I go into this, nobody really understands what a rater, what a lawyer, the people who are making these decisions nobody sees their life behind the scenes. And I'm not trying to make it seem like we're not important as veterans, right? But the people, and this is your field, Craig, the people who are making the decisions has feelings as well. They go through things. They have a family that they need to provide for, right? They are probably veterans as well. They do have to make a decision that would either make a veteran's future or ruin their future. Okay.
Yeah.
And so you trying to tell me that they can't even get GS-15 pay, which is probably not even that much money because the federal government likes to pay you pennies. And then it's not that many of them and judges to make the decision of how many BVA claims there are out there right now.
Yeah. It's interesting. Yeah, that's an interesting point. And I will say that it's funny to me, or let's say it's just fascinating to me that the there are bonuses and incentives that you can get in other fields in the VA, like for example, and I think those are important as well, like nurses, certain other occupational specialties where you can actually get bonuses and you get paid, up to the level of your worth. But like it requires a desk audit to get that GS-15 legislation pushed for the VA. But because in some ways the BVA is a sweatshop, I mean, think about it. Like they boasted getting down to 92,000 cases last year, getting down to 92,000 BVA cases last year. And even in VA, I did some videos about this last year, but even in VA literature, I mean, we're looking at like 3.5, 4 years but before your BVA case goes before a judge. And the reason why that's so long is because there are so many cases, right? And they only have certain amount of people to staff those cases because of the turnover rate for attorneys who aren't being paid their adequacy or their worth, right?
And the preparation it takes.
As you stated, HerVetVoice, to prepare a case to sit before the judge and to understand that the weight of it is, and a veterans, remember this committee is an economic adjustment committee, to understand that the weight of a veteran's economic future, their ability to be able to put a roof over their head, feed their children, and take care of their family might sit with you, because a lot of veterans are using their VA compensation to pay for other things.
Yeah.
Right, to pay for medical care that they aren't getting. That's a huge amount of pressure. And some folks are like, I ain't passionate enough about that. Let me go into I'm gonna go somewhere else where they'll pay me what I'm worth and I can actually have a real impact. So yeah, I want to see what Dwayne has to say. Yeah.
I wonder how many of them work there for 2 to 3 years, learn the process, and then get their accreditation and make more money. Maybe send their clients straight to the BVA.
Yeah, it's possible. Yeah, I think that's possible. But I would say to you, Dwayne, it seems that the more talented federal attorneys are really specializing in this level of contract law or disability law. So I don't know if they're necessarily doing it for the experience. The good ones are doing it, I think, for the passion of actually wanting to help veterans. As you stated earlier, HerVetVoice, a lot of these attorneys are veterans themselves, and they really want to do good. What we don't do well is we don't take care of people who are doing a good job, and we don't make sure we recognize and show affirmation to those folks.
All right, let's hit it, because this hearing is almost over.
Congratulations. I know you're surprised to hear that, but I deeply, deeply value how hard it is to do good work and be a mom. So thank you for doing that. And I also appreciate the ability I have today to speak on my bill, the Every Veteran Housed Act. I appreciate and share everyone's commitment here to tackling veteran homelessness, and hope that we will continue to work together on this issue. In Oregon and across the country, preventing and ending veteran homelessness is a top priority. Our communities believe that honoring service means ensuring every veteran has a safe and a stable place to call home. So that's why we introduced the Every Veteran Housed Act. It's to remove barriers and streamline eligibility standards across VA homelessness programs. It'll make it easier for veterans experiencing homeless to access the full range of services that they've earned. Critically, it also expands access to those who have served in the National Guard and the Reserve, helping eliminate another obstacle that they are facing. This legislation is a practical, targeted step that will help more veterans access housing, stabilize their lives, and reconnect with the support systems they need. It reflects a broader commitment to treating veteran homelessness as an ethical as well as public health issue. Ms. Keenan, can you speak to the existing gaps in the veteran homelessness system and why it's so critical that this bill helps reach those who have historically been left behind?
Yes, thank you for that question. So currently, discharges other than dishonorable don't count for these programs. So that's what this would open up eligibility to additional veterans. And that's similar to access to VA healthcare and disability benefits. So we see this as a way to reach more veterans that may be in need of some of these programs.
Thank you so much. And I just want to also point out that some of those less than honorably discharged veterans are struggling with exactly the issues that lead to homelessness, mental health challenges, addiction history. It is absolutely our obligation, I would say, to close those gaps that we've created for them. And Ms. Keenan, you also highlighted in your testimony the connection between stable housing and mental health stabilization as well as suicide prevention. How do you see the Every Veteran Housed Act advancing those goals?
I think the more veterans that we can reach with some of these homelessness programs, the better that veterans that are in need can have that stability, not only for themselves, for their physical and mental health, but for their families as well.
Yeah, and to my colleagues on the committee, I just want to be clear that this bill would not impact dishonorably discharged or court-martialed veterans. This is really less than honorable discharges, which happens to people who are serving in good faith and just can't finish their service for differing reasons. To my colleagues here who are advocating for transparency and accountability, very much appreciate that and fully support that. I also want to make sure that we are not removing regulations and oversight to a degree that just opens the door for further waste, fraud, and abuse. And I think this is a balancing act that we all need to be diligent in addressing together. So thank you, Mr. Chair. I yield back.
The gentlewoman yields back. Dr. Conaway, you're recognized for 5 minutes.
Did he say gentlewoman?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for recognizing me, and
That's what they say.
thank you for holding this very important hearing. I am thankful for the opportunity to testify on behalf of my bill, H.R. 8044, the Get Justice Involved Veterans Back Home Act. Recent research shows that veterans with mental health conditions, particularly PTSD, traumatic brain injury, and substance abuse disorders stemming from their combat or service-related trauma, face significantly higher risk of entering or re-entering the criminal justice system. Veterans with PTSD, for example, are 61% more likely to be involved with the criminal justice system than those without PTSD, and 59% more likely to be arrested for violent offenses. And while the VA operates programs to support veterans in the community, there remains a critical gap for care for veterans who are in the criminal justice system. Since 1986, the VA has not provided health care to veterans when they are under supervision of another government agency with a duty to furnish care, such as prisons or jails. A study from 2016 estimated that 107,400 veterans were serving in state and federal prison at the time in 2016. While these veterans serve their time, it is important that the VA provides the necessary services to ensure that these veterans can heal, rebuild, and successfully re-enter their communities. My bipartisan bicameral bill would direct VA to carry out a pilot program to furnish mental health to incarcerated veterans via telehealth if the facility has the necessary infrastructure or through other means determined appropriate by the Secretary, including mobile mental health units. Now, this is a pilot program that will occur over 5 institutions within the prison system in the United States, so that we can see how it works, and then, as I believe it will, and then move it forward to increase its reach. The bill directs the VA to prioritize veterans with service-connected disability ratings related to PTSD, traumatic brain injury, or military sexual trauma, while ensuring these veterans, that those veterans are being seen by VA healthcare providers. Note that this bill would bar VA from collecting copays from veterans participating in the program and require that upon the date of their release, veterans who had their disability compensation payments reduced while in custody have their full payments restored automatically. By ensuring our veterans have access to strong mental health care during their incarceration, we can help set them up for success after their release, making it easier for them to succeed in other areas such as securing employment, securing stable housing, and more. I am pleased to have my colleague, Representative Luttrell, co-leading this bill with me in the House, and I appreciate his work on this. And I'm grateful for the support of the American Legion, Vietnam Veterans of America with Honor, the American Correctional Association, the American Psychological Association, and the American Psychiatric Association. Ms. Keenan, what are the gaps in care for incarcerated veterans, and how best can we address them? Certainly, I hope that you'll find that this measure is an important part of filling that gap, but I'd appreciate your comments on this question.
Thank you for the question. Obviously there is a lack of access that incarcerated veterans are going to experience to their VA healthcare. So we generally like this pilot program idea. We do have some technical suggestions on how it could be improved to really look at the full gamut of mental health conditions that these veterans might be experiencing outside of PTSD and the various conditions related to military sexual trauma.
Well, thank you for that. And we are prioritizing certain conditions, but the full gamut of mental health challenges that veterans face certainly ought to be addressed. It's part of comprehensive mental health care. And to the extent that we need to emphasize that, then I'll certainly work on that as well. Do you believe that and anyone can answer, that providing a one-on-one mental health counseling to justice-involved veterans who find themselves within the criminal justice system could reduce recidivism and help the veterans succeed after they serve their time?
Thank you, CB. Welcome.
Absolutely. I think VA provides some of the best mental health care for veterans. It's veteran specific, and they offer it through in-person appointments, but also through telemedicine. And so I think the more veterans that we can reach, regardless of their circumstances, the better off that will be.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Thank you to the first panel of witnesses. You're excused, and I appreciate you being here, and thank you so much.
All right, I'm going to pause this here, and we have so much that we have to talk about.
Ooh. Yeah.
Wait, hold on. Somebody said, I disagree with Ms. Keenan.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, about her saying that the VA does offer the best mental health care.
Listen,
when you're going to go 60, 90 days without an appointment, they call that the best mental health care.
So on that comment, and thanks Dwayne for popping that in, that yes, incarcerated veterans only get 10% for service-connected disabilities. Watch this though, regardless of what other conditions they have. So that's the financial element, right?
Yeah.
But let's talk about the mental, physical, social, emotional element.
Yeah.
Right? Like those veterans should still be receiving care, adequate care, because of their service connection. Because think about it. Look, y'all, one of the reasons they might be in jail is because of a mental health concern. Anybody ever thought about that?
Correct.
Anybody ever thought about that?
This is what I talked about the other night, and I have a background in criminal justice. I worked in mental health court. I've dealt with a whole bunch of mental health clientele and how this works. Now, if you have a dishonorable discharge, you do not qualify for mental health court. If you have certain types of felony charges, now mental health, the Veterans Court, you can only have a handful of certain charges. Now, if you don't went about doing things that you know you should not be doing in whatever, you cannot qualify for VTC. Now, here's where the problem comes into play, and this is what I experienced firsthand. Because I was a veteran, I held major roles in the veterans court, right? Meaning that I talked to veterans, I scheduled veterans, I got them into therapy, I did a lot of that. But when it came to the people who were handling veterans, they didn't have experienced judges who understood the veteran mentality. They didn't have the staff members to accommodate the program, because now, if you guys don't understand, the state then has to give money for this specific veterans program. Like they have a drug program and they have an essay program. The veterans program now needs to be funded. So that's more money needs to come into the state's budget to fund this program. Now, all of this funding, a judge has to be paid, the staff has to be paid, the court program has to have therapy, they have to have a drug program, they have to have a mental health program, they have a therapist, they have to have all of this at hand. A lot of counties don't have the budget for a VTC program.
Right.
Okay? And so this is where veterans are falling through the cracks.
This is, yeah.
Prison in a regular court, and then there's no mental health, there's no nothing, and then they go crazy where they're at.
Yeah, absolutely. This is so important. And I can say in my work as a therapist, one of the things that they talked about, where they touched on it a bit, is the transition between military service and civilian service. I hope you guys know that, like, there are so many veterans who, when they get off of active duty, they don't sign up for VHA healthcare, and many of them need mental health, behavioral health care, right?
Yeah.
So they won't sign up with the VHA because a lot of them don't know that that's available or applicable to them, and they don't know, like, you could actually get some of that mental health care, figure out some of those wounds that you've experienced mentally, and emotionally and psychologically, and it could prevent you from doing something, breaking the law, getting into something, right? Domestic violence, something that's going to send you to prison or send you to jail, right? But a lot of times that piece in there, they talked a little bit earlier. Ms. Keenan talked about the suicide rate up being like about 24 months after a veteran retires, or 24 months or 12 to 24 months after a veteran gets off of active duty. Think about it, y'all. You served in combat, you saw things, you experienced things that have impacted you, no matter how much you try to push it down or repress it, right? And check this out. You're trying to deal with the stuff that you experienced in the military, and you're trying to transition back into society. Right? Like, this is a comprehensive fight that veterans need people on their side to be able to do, right? Because guess what? Once you get in the system, they don't care if you're a veteran. You get in that system, you're just a criminal like everybody else, right?
That's
You
it.
lose everything. So yeah, I appreciate VCT. I hope that gets trumpeted even more, that program for veterans, because a lot of times it takes a veteran to understand the veteran, even the behavioral concerns that they have.
And the fact that you decide to bring the Bureau of Prisons to the carpet, knowing good and well in federal prison, there is no VTC for nothing. The
No
only
VTC.
reason that the federal prison know that you are are veteran is because they do the PSI, which is a pre-sentencing investigation where those questions are answered, and it is on your document before the judge. A PSI goes back into your background, and they try to figure out what's happening in your background to determine the sentence that you're supposed to get. But when we look at federal prisons, there are no veteran programs for federal prisons. Yes, in the prison, they're going to have you as a veteran, but that's it. Even before you go to prison, they're not going to care that you've seen a therapist outside of going to prison, because when you get in there, they don't care nothing about you being a veteran. I don't care how much time these people come to the table and portray that they are so focused in veteran community. Like, she sat at that table with that mop on her head. Lord knows I want to snatch her from the table. Talking about, oh, we have a unit, and you're lying.
No.
You're lying, because you know
that's
why?
not true.
I walked federal prison halls as a probation officer.
Absolutely. And the thing about HerVetVoice, I remember working specifically with a veteran who was incarcerated, and we were trying to get him just that basic 10% that Dwayne's talking about, right?
Mhm.
So we got his information, got all of his information squared away, and the prison would not allow him to sign the appropriate documents because you can't have a pen in the penitentiary, y'all. You can't have paper, can't have nothing sharp in there. Right? So and listen, the VSO, listen, is this on?
It's on.
He,
Say
the
it, Flo.
the VSO would not return. They wouldn't work with him because they didn't listen. They didn't want to deal with the advocacy folks at the prison that to get them access to get in there. Because you know with the VSO said, well, I got so many other veterans that so he just he let him rot in there. And this veteran had all kinds of issues, mental issues, physical issues, right? Things that were worthy of compensation, right? To at least get him the 10%. Because he was having problems getting money to his son. And yeah, it is that when she said that, I said, oh no. No,
This
no, 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 no. That's not true.
And so they want us to be so focused on claims. They want us to be
Mhm.
over here.
Mhm.
But it's over here.
Right.
Prisons, community care.
It's a smoke and mirrors.
Don't get me started on dental.
That's
Don't
what it is.
get me started
Oh,
on
yeah.
dental.
Mhm.
Don't get me started on the
It's the whole bait and switch.
of 100,000 veterans
It's that
that
bait
have
and switch.
increased in SA,
Mhm.
in suicide. Don't get me started on that. All while they want us to be over here playing this game, but over here, where the bigger picture is, we are not focused.
Mhm. Mhm.
Because you cannot tell me that 500 plus VJOs or whatever they call them for the VA,
Mhm.
that's
The
enough
justice
for
officers.
the whole nation.
It's not. It's not. It's not.
I've
It's
never
not.
seen one. When I walk the halls of the prison, I've never seen one.
No, it's not. It's the same situation with the amount of VSOs that are available to process veteran claims. Speaking of VSOs,
There we
I
go.
see it. I see it. I see it. That's the message right there. We can had altar call now.
There we go. Collect the offering because
Doors of the church are open.
there we go.
Doors
At
of the church are open.
state level. This is at the state level. This is where the VTC program is. The state level, because federal doesn't have a program.
Mm.
He has never remembered taking a veteran prisoner for VA care, at least where I work.
Never. 28 years. How many? Listen, if you were to multiply that,
How
out
many other
across-
officers you
I
work with?
wonder how many other. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
But guess what? We have money to give Oracle who done messed over other money, okay? But we cannot come up with something where veterans are in a place together with themselves to work amongst each other, or at least have a therapist focused with veteran in prisons. But you around there talking about you need $488 billion for what?
Wow. Look at Dwayne. Listen, look at Mad Researcher's comment, and then look at Dwayne's comment.
Oh,
They
listen.
cutting up. They cutting up.
Imagine the VSO not helping the incarcerated veteran. The VSOs are focused on veterans first. I guess they're only interested in veterans paying those lifetime dues.
Come on.
I remember requesting CMP in vets for jail, and the facility refused to take them in
No
many
manpower.
park. You know,
No manpower.
this is why I am passionate.
Mhm.
I have to go outside on my porch when I get finished up going live because the amount of things that veterans are so not
It's a lot.
on.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
We haven't even got into the totality of veterans wellness as yet.
No. Listen, I want to swing back real quick, HerVetVoice, and I
ahead.
want to talk about what Miss Keenan had talked about with the with VSO. I see that comment. What Miss Keenan talked about. Thank you so much for that advocacy too, CB. I appreciate that. So what Miss Keenan was talking about, where she said she supported the GUARD Act, which, okay, I understand, but I'm gonna tell you something. There's something behind that. What the VSOs don't talk about is the Plus Act. There is also an HR for the Plus Act, right?
Yep.
So the GUARD. I'm breaking down really quickly. The GUARD Act would restrict non-accredited companies from working working on veterans claims at all. And I think it's trying to bring back the criminal aspect of charging up front. I think that's what the
Yes,
Guard Act is trying to do.
Yes.
But see, what they're not talking about is the Plus Act, and there's a specific reason why veteran service organizations are talking about the Plus Act, because the Plus Act would cap the amount of dollars that unaccredited companies. It would allow unaccredited companies to work with veterans on their claims and other things, but it would cap the amount that they could make per veteran. I think it's $12,500 is the amount that it would cap. Here's what I'm saying. Look, let's put the money to the side for a second. You have talented people who are not accredited. You have knowledgeable people who are not accredited. You have people who are wise and discerning and who care about the veterans, as HerVetVoice was saying, the overall wholeness and wellness of the veteran, who are not accredited. And you have VSOs who are accredited or who are authorized to work these claims that don't care about those other aspects. And I don't think it's that they don't care, they just don't have the capacity. So why not open the door? Why not open the door to people who are in the VA claims content space, who have been working for veterans? Listen, folks like me and HerVetVoice and the Salty Old Marine and Dwayne, we've been working with veterans long before we started making content. Yo, listen, this is just what we do. It's our passion. It's our life, right? Why not open the door with regulation to allow those folks to work with veterans? And you not only get claims help, you get all these other things that are applicable and important to veterans.
Wait, where is the VSO?
Uh-oh. wait. He said they're gonna come out the way.
The way we know
Listen,
they'll
I ain't
email me
scared.
tonight.
I ain't scared.
I'll
Dwayne.
send them over to him. I'll forward the
Look here.
emails to y'all tonight.
Tell them, come on. Listen.
They gonna email me tonight because they tend to send me the emails. But here's the thing, and this is my question: this is what I have to say. Where are the VSOs with the knowledgeable information on social media?
That's good. That's good.
We're not getting compensated for it. This is a work that you're doing.
Right.
This is, you're doing it to give back to the veterans. No money is involved. Where are you? Come to the front. Show, request the help. Do something. Come here once a month.
Right.
Come here once a month and gather. Now, I am not monetized on YouTube. I don't do this for money. I don't do this for any kind of accolades. As you guys can tell, this is a passion of mine. Okay? Now, VSOs and accredited agents, and I know there are some people who are on social media, and I'm not referring to you, the ones who are behind the scenes and have so much to say about claim sharks. Where are you to push the claim sharks out the door? Because in order for the claim sharks to be pushed out, what needs to happen is the people who are loyal towards doing it need to come and be in the limelight and talk about what's happening here. If in order to get rid of the claim sharks, in order to get something out of the way, what you have to do, you have to push it out of the way. So while you are so busy, arguing and talking about the claim sharks over here, what are you doing to get rid of the claim sharks?
Look at HerVetVoice. Look at her. Listen, a VSO might not go into the jail to talk to a veteran, but I will. A VSO might not go into the hospital, but I'll go in there. A VSO might not go to a drug house. I'll go in there. I'll go in there. If it's a veteran in there that needs help, that's the type of care that you get. We got you. Listen, bro. Whenever you want to do it.
Tell me what day and time, Dwayne. Send me an email. You know I'm there.
Listen, all you got to do is say the word, OG. Just say the word.
Yes, say the word. We ready. Whatever day, whatever time, Dwayne, because I know your schedule. You tell me when y'all want to do this.
Say the word. Say the word. We ready to go.
A suit. I'm usually up here in a black tee, but I'm putting on a suit for that night.
But there's just, I think, and again, we have to follow the money when it comes to this, because I think that there are specific obstacles, there's specific fences in the way to prevent getting the veterans the holistic care that they need, the wellness that they need, the emotional, mental, physical care that they need, right? The confidence that they need to say, hey, I can live life after the military, right? I don't have to be focused on my identity as a service member. I can now focus on my identity as a father, as a husband, as a man, as a woman, as a mom. I can actually focus my identity on those things that are important to me. So
I'm ready. Your dedication and commitment and compassion are amazing and inspiring. Thank you. Listen, when I
agreed.
started this channel, I am big on my faith and I pray over every decision that I have to make when I'm getting ready to make a decision because, things come out the woodwork and people have motives or whatever the case may be. I started this channel because I realized that everybody complained about the Raiders. Everybody complained about everything except taking accountability, right? I felt it was my passion to bring accountability to the veterans' forefront. If you ever realize something about a veteran, when it doesn't go their way, it is somebody else's fault, right? I started holding my clients accountable for
Mhm.
their actions. And when I started holding them accountable and they started to understand where I was coming from, I saw the bigger picture. Because social media has influenced the veteran community to be so focused on blaming it on somebody else instead of understanding the legality behind it, the elements behind it, the concept behind it, and the process behind it. And I think if I can be the sounding board for 3 out of those 5 things and somebody else, you and Dwayne, pick up the other 2, then we have created a community that will be able to allow it to flow where
Mhm,
all
mhm.
these other hiccups will come. We will
Yep.
be able to debunk those.
Yeah, I love it. And one of the things I appreciate about your channel and others and Dwayne and other channels is that oftentimes what veterans really need, my sister, is that they just need an advocate. They
Mhm.
need to be heard. They need to know that they're accepted, that they're loved, that they have a voice, right? And that their concerns are being brought to the forefront. Because a lot of times in these congressional hearings, as we stated before, a lot of times there's a bias or a stigma toward some sort of political leaning, right? And oftentimes the veteran gets left behind. Now, there's some congressmen in there that bring the heat, and I'm grateful for them, right? Because they're going to continue to fight the fight. But those are veterans, as you can tell, that
Mhm.
bring that heat. We need to come together as a community. I did a video about some of the infighting that goes on in YouTube content spaces and stuff like that, right? Listen, we all know who we are. We don't need to compare what's to one another. We don't have to do that, right? Like we can actually come together and really help the veterans if all of us get off of our hobby horse and understand what the real mission is.
One of the things I realized too in the committee hearings, Dwayne, I'm going to drop the link for you as well if you want to come up and share anything
Oh, that'd be
before
great.
yeah. Um, I'll drop the link for you, Dwayne. But I wanted to say when it comes to the committee hearings, how often do you see the VFW, the DAV, or any VA souls in those spaces anymore? Right. Well, you look at the age of Miss Keenan because she
Mhm.
seems to be very young. She's still in her motherhood years, right? So who is with her?
Mm,
Who is with her on this journey with this? The
mhm.
people, the our forefathers who have, done this before us. Now they've gotten old and
Right.
what is happening, they're not able to come to the forefront anymore. But
Mhm.
what happened to anybody mentoring us and allowing us to see like how to pick up that baton and how to move forward? It
Mm.
has not presented itself. And even when I volunteered at the DAV and the VFW, this type of stuff, that the amount of sexual harassment I endured just to get the knowledge was
Right.
diabolical to me. And I had to
Yeah.
put that behind me because I know I had a plan of action to move forward, right?
Mhm.
The
Yeah.
level of disrespect that you have to go through, but at the same time, if you know in the VSO community, DAV and the VFW, that you are not able to pass that
Mhm.
on, give us some type of insight.
Right.
Pick up some type of class.
Right.
Put together a flyer. Hey, we're looking for people to come out here to do this.
Mhm.
do something instead of
Right.
not doing anything at all. That's what pains me the most.
Yeah, and the thing about it is, you notice they don't stop collecting those dues. These VSOs don't stop collecting those dues. They don't stop pulling in and raking in the money, right? And listen, they have Congress's voice. They have it Congress's ear, right?
Yes.
Oftentimes, so a lot of times that's all we have for advocacy is these VSOs, right? Somebody said in one of your lives one time, they said we should go and storm one of these congressional hearings. We should go on one of these congressional hearings. I don't know if we're making.
We are live and in color.
Hold on. I gotta get my audio right.
I got the video. I got a video for that.
Audio right. Okay.
It's just we have to stop. I can
If
hear
you all
you.
can hear me,
Yes.
give
Can't
me
hear
1
us?
second.
Yeah, but we got to do something. Craig, we can't hear you. I can't hear you.
Okay, can you all hear me?
Yeah,
Sorry about that. I had to get my brain. I had to get my.
I can't hear Craig. Craig, can you hear us? Are you on mute?
I think I lost him. I can't. hear
Yeah,
him
we
either.
lost Craig. I can't hear you now. I can read your lips, but I can't hear you. No. No. No, I can't hear you.
Let me go back out.
Okay, and come back.
And then come back in, but keep me in the
Okay, I got you in the
green room.
Got you.
Okay. All right.
Are you there, Craig? I can't hear you either. Okay, they'll be back, guys. This y'all, we are in for a treat. I said we should crash these hearings. Yeah, we should crash the hearings.
Yeah.
Yes, I got
Perfect.
you.
What
Yeah.
happened? What happened? You just as soon as
leave.
Dwayne came on, you dropped out. I couldn't hear nothing.
I know. Let's see if he can hear us
Is he
first.
coming back? Yeah.
Yep. Okay, let's see. All right, Dwayne, you here?
I'm here.
Okay, we good now.
All right, we live in color, guys.
Good now.
We're back.
Nice to meet you, OG.
Likewise. Thanks for all the support. I definitely appreciate it.
Of course.
And
And listen. I'm gonna
joining
listen. Let me tell y'all. Listen. Back in the middle of when the pandemic started, is when I found the Nugget Man.
When
the pandemic started, and I meant to tell you this too, HerVetVoice, before we got on, is that like I had seen Combat Craig, but I really started getting onto this when I saw Dwayne. He was really like the first one that I saw. I'm like, oh, like he does this all the time. Like he does this every day,
Yeah.
right? And I've been watching your videos since then, man, and it's just been a blessing. It's just been a blessing. So it's kind of surreal to be live with you.
It's crazy because I'll be in the airport somewhere if I'm traveling.
Yeah.
And I had to go to a family member's funeral the first week of this month. And I was coming
sorry to
back
hear
and
that.
I was in St. Louis airport
Mm-hmm.
and was talking, you just get talking to someone. They say, you're a veteran. And I always ask them, like, man, make sure you get your benefits.
Right.
I never ask what's your percentages, make sure you're getting them.
Yeah.
And they were like, all right, yeah. One guy, he was like, yeah, I'm always on YouTube. I said, you are?
Yeah.
I said, well, you ought to check out this guy's channel, man. He said, go by the name of Nugget Man. He was like, yeah. He was like, wait a minute.
That's right.
You.
Look. He'll get on there and say, I got a video. Dwayne, I got a video for that Kim.
Yeah. A Marine gave me that
awesome.
That slogan because I used to do private free training. And it was always private. And I did it back. I don't even know if this website is around anymore. Eventbrite.
Yes. When you get a ticket and you put your name in it.
Yeah.
I remember Eventbrite.
In like 2019, 20, I would do that.
Mm-hmm.
And so in that training, I would always say, make sure you go to my channel. I got a video for that. And I was just saying,
yeah.
And he was like, you ought to coin that. I'm like, and it took about 5 minutes because I kept saying, wait a minute, how do I? Dwayne, I kept messing up, and then I just got it right and it stuck. And so, yeah.
Nice. Nice.
Definitely,
Yeah.
Dwayne, to have you join the conversation.
Awesome. It's an honor, brother. Yep.
And
Appreciate it. Thank you for what you do. Both
Yeah.
of you do as well. I
Appreciate it.
remember when I came on YouTube, November 2018, started my business. November, I retired from the VA October 26, 2018 at 3:30 p.m. Eastern
Wow.
Standard Time.
Oh, you got the time.
Yeah, because when I walked out of the regional office, I turned around, I did my salute in front of the
That's it.
building and got in my car and came back home and
Yeah,
got back
yeah,
in the
yeah.
bed. But I remember reaching out to one of the large channels that was on back, because it wasn't that many back then. It wasn't that many.
Right. No, it was not. No.
And I remember that channel telling me, I was like, hey, I just retired. Would love to come on and just talk. I'm retired ready to love just talk. That's all I want to do is just,
Yeah.
I was like little Tony in the first 48 in Birmingham, Alabama. I'm snitching. I'm telling
Little
her,
Tony.
so I
Yes,
just
sir.
wanted to,
Yes,
you
sir.
know, just talk and spread the word, And I remember them saying, go start your own YouTube channel.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
And so small channels like HerVetVoice, I have more time now. Back then,
Yeah.
when I first started, I was on the grind, just
Yes, sir.
doing 12-hour live streams and
Mhm.
live streams every week. Didn't know what I was doing, didn't have my lighting right. And so I was like, So I started it January 2019, but I didn't post my first video until December, I think 27th of 2019. One of my business partners over on VBA Benefits Navigator, I was going through a veteran entrepreneurship
Yeah.
symposium.
I know about that one. Yeah.
Yeah, and here in Hillsborough County, HCC Community College. And once he found out what I used to do for the VA, he was just sitting at my desk every class and on break. He was like, well, hey man, how do you And so now we created a university, a software, and all this other stuff.
Amazing. Yeah.
But
Love it.
he was like, you ought to start a YouTube channel.
Mhm.
And I was like, man, nobody's gonna listen to me on YouTube. That's a waste of time, And he just kept every month, he kept asking me, and I did. And when I went to create it, I was using my email. I'm like, wait a minute, it said I don't have a YouTube. I never created. And I was like, I did, but I never did anything with it. And it just it grew from now. It grew from there. Now you just have many voices in this space, but I really enjoyed listening to what the both of you were talking about. I had to leave real quick and go eat dinner with my wife so she didn't get
Oh, you got to do that now.
mad. Yeah. I smelled the food and I was like, oh man, I hate to leave.
Dwayne got run to public. He had to be back.
Listen,
Yeah, I went to
I'm
public.
trying to tell you.
I went to public one night. But I always try to support
Thank you.
smaller channels
awesome,
because I know when you're trying to do something the way that we're doing,
Yeah.
you need that support. And
Yeah.
especially from the, I look at it this way, you reach back and help those in a way that others didn't help you.
Yes.
Right.
Right. And it took me 9 months to get monetized. I wasn't even thinking about monetization. When I got when it popped up, I'm like, I'm eligible. Eligible for what?
Whatever the AdSense and all the type of stuff.
Yeah.
Emails every day. You're missing out on this.
Yeah.
You should set this. You should set this up. You should do this.
I finally just did the membership thing the other day because they kept saying, if you don't do this thing, you won't be able. And I was like, oh, well, I could create a member community, and talk about it because we talked about that before. But all the other stuff behind there, I have. Even Craig this other day was like, by the end of the week, you'll reach your 1,000 subscribers.
I told her she is.
1,000 subscribers, dude. Because
Yeah. It was. And so
it's
it was.
always a pleasure to have you
Yeah,
in
always.
conversation of what we are having about the totality of the veteran wellness needs to be a conversation for us to have more often, right? I know that the claim side of life is so much better. When we talk about an incarcerated veteran and what their family go through and what they go through and how they come out and maneuver, because I know you've had people that come out and say, I went to jail and now I don't get my benefits at all. How do I get them restarted? All those type of conversations are the ones that we need to have, but we also need to talk about these agencies and these attorneys and these agents and VSOs who are really not doing the work, but are getting the accolades.
Right. So even when you were alive, what was that? When they were talking about the budget, when they had the VA secretary on there, and I was thinking how much money could be given to some of these state prisons, maybe federal prisons, to have these examiners to come in like once a month and do CMP exams, because veterans, when they're incarcerated, they still can file claims and they can get service connected. And so when they get out, eventually they get out, that is restored. And here's another thing with that. When they get out, that money doesn't get restored automatically.
You have to request. Yeah, it takes a while to get that back.
And it's a non-rating claim, which means it's not a priority, just like dependent claims.
Yes.
You know, I tell veterans, if you're 0, 10, 20%, you need to be submitting that dependent form at the same time.
Absolutely.
Because when it's promulgated, I'm never was a VSR, but make sure I get this right. When it's promulgated and authorized, they can take issue with that dependency right there and then. Because if you're not getting anything, or you're 0, 10, or 20, and you reach that 30% threshold, you get access to that dependent pay right off the bat.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And when we look at the other night, they brought the Bureau of Prisons there to the panel. For what reason? The Bureau of Prisons have nothing to do with VTC. Nothing at all.
No.
VTC used to be, and I know I've been a PO in Florida, both state and federal, so I know what entails. And in Florida, when it comes to veteran treatment court, they are it's a very tight window, window. And so if you don't meet that qualification, just because you don't get into veteran court, there should be some type of system in place where even though you committed a heinous crime or whatever the case may be, you still get the mental health care, you still get the dental care, you still get all the care that you need because you still serve the country.
Absolutely.
Despite what you have done, you still serve the country. The fact that you can't even call a VSO right now and get them to answer the phone or email you to get any kind of response, and you're not in jail, tells me that if you are in jail, you're not getting no answer.
Yeah. Yeah, and this falls under the umbrella of advocacy, which I think in a lot of ways the VA thinks that claims or financial sort of unburdening of that 10 to 100% or whatever, they think, oh, if I just give you this dollar amount, that it takes care of all of the other issues and concerns you have. Well, oftentimes incarcerated veterans get left behind in that because they have special, unique circumstances and situations that require the VA to do much more than what they're doing, and much more than just throw money at a situation. I mean, that's why we're reviewing this congressional hearing tonight, because a lot of people think if we just throw money at it, then the problem is solved. But that's not the case. And that's never been the case. Right? You actually need boots on the ground. You actually need people in those places and in those particular situations who understands veterans' needs, right? Who understand what some of the challenges have been. I'll give you guys one example. Who is advocating for these discharge changes, right? Because a lot of these things that happen with regard to veterans getting dishonorable discharges, a lot of it may not have necessarily been their fault. I mean, we understand what the court martial law looks like. We understand what Article 134 is. We understand what the UCMJ is, right? Like oftentimes there's no advocacy for them while they're in the military, and then that carries over to when they become a veteran. So I really believe that the advocacy piece needs to be looked at by the VA a lot more.
The panel that we watched the other night, what did he say? He said he is very sorry for the amount of administrative discharges that he completed, because now he sees the ramification behind
Absolutely
administrative discharges. Do you know how many people I have come and say, I need a discharge upgrade?
Discharge upgrade,
told me to go ahead and fight it, but because I don't want to fight with my command anymore, I decided to choose and get this, and now I have to try to change this in order to get what I deserve. The amount of emails I receive on discharge upgrade, it has become crazy to me. And the fact that he said a commander would rather a soldier go to the motor pool and work on a vehicle instead of going to tax to worry about their future outside of the military, that hurt me to my core.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And Dwayne, you can probably speak to this, but from everything I've read with regard to how the VA considers giving benefits to those who have other types of discharges, I think it's on a case by case basis. And I think
Yep.
that, it just depends on you guys reviewing it and understanding the circumstances.
The VSRs, that's a task for the VSRs,
Mm-hmm.
raters. At least when I was there, they didn't do it. So with their charge with doing it, they interact with the veteran and they have to make those calls. Now, I've seen some claims where veterans got out for pedophilia. They got out
Mm-hmm.
for doing things online and just,
Right.
just some crazy things. But
Mm-hmm.
this is the thing that used to make my blood boil.
Mm.
If it was an officer, they would let them resign their commission.
Yeah.
So that discharge is fine.
Right.
But if
right.
you are, PFC, E3,
Specialist
Yeah.
when you get up to the sergeant first class,
Yeah.
in the Army, E7,
Mhm.
right, you just can't bust those individuals. They can just get out, so it's a little bit harder. So you see these soldiers. And I remember my first case where I worked, where a veteran had a, he was Navy. He was in Norfolk, Virginia, went AWOL, got shot at a hotel.
Uh-huh.
Well, I didn't know the AWOL, and I'm working the case, and I'm like,
You know
6
about that
months in the
piece.
race, yeah.
Yeah.
And then I'm about to give him 80%. I'm happy. And then we had a quality person on our team. They reviewed it, and they was like, "You can't grant anything. You got to sit in this back because of
Talk with the JAG.
yeah." And he got shot by a drug dealer. He was trying to steal drugs from him, and I was like, "Man, you got to be killing me."
Man.
So all that went out the window,
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
when they get out, they're thinking, "Oh, I'm a vet," but they're not thinking, like you said, you have the other things that go on. But when I heard like last week, when I hear with their ad, because I think when was it? HerVetVoice, he was like, "Whoa, it was 34 billion. Now we're asking for 175." I was like, "Whoa!"
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, "What?" Where,
They kicked it
where'd
up.
that come
He
from?
went from now he wants 488 billion,
488 now.
with a
Yeah.
$7.7 million
488.
increase.
Yeah,
Well,
it's a
I
lot
tell
more.
you what, you give my company $1 million of that, I'll find 4 other people here on YouTube, and I guarantee you, within 365 days, you'll see a reduction in the backlog. Because when I worked in
Let's
the
go.
private sector,
Let's
I
go.
was trained to be proactive.
Active.
So
Yes.
I'm coming up with things that do not add
Yeah.
to the backlog, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I was part of the fully developed claim pilot program.
FTC.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yep. It was at one location. Don't you know I got ostracized by a coach in a nice way because she knew I was that guy at work, right? Don't that big, tall, bald-headed black guy, he ain't going for that.
Yeah.
So I said, I'm in a meeting and I'm like, well, why don't we promote this office? Nobody knows we're there.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, well, they got the VSOs. I'm like, okay. And well, what about the veterans in Naples, Fort Myers, everybody that's within that vision that reports
Yeah.
to Bay Pines VA Medical Center, they should know about this.
Yeah, because on that pilot, you could walk the claim through real fast, right?
Yes.
In
Oh,
days, right?
I worked the
Yes.
claim
Yeah.
into, and this is going to make a lot of people out there on YouTube upset, and I hope it does, because I was trained by the VA to look at a DBQ and nexus statement to see if it was actionable and sufficient. So I was one of those raiders. As long as your DBQ and nexus statement was actionable and sufficient, I don't care if it was 200 miles away. As long as it was done per, the VA guidelines,
Right.
I'm not sending you to a CMP exam. So veterans would walk in with a DBQ. I'm looking at it. Okay, it's good to go. I go back to the regional office because our office was over in the hospital, one of hospital buildings. So I go back to the regional office. I asked the VSR, hey, I need you to assess this EP. I can go ahead and rate this case. So if I didn't rate it before I left the office that day, the next day when I get home, I'll tell her, hey, don't make it RFD until you get to work in the morning.
Mm.
Send me an email as soon as you make it RFD so I can pull in. I know I'm
Say
rating
so.
it and it's done.
Say so.
And then they close the office talking about
Say
the
so.
9 raters that's over there. Oh, that's not helping us
Make our
work on the
numbers.
backlog.
Uh-huh.
You
Yeah,
could
I see.
it's no 9 raters is going to help reduce the backlog. No, because what happens is, and you have to have worked in this system to understand this. Every time a new administration comes in, every time you get a new VA secretary, they all think they can do it better than the last person.
All of them.
So
Yeah.
all these changes come along, and the changes that were in place, we're like, now we're getting into the groove of things, and then that changes and blows things up, and it sets them back,
over.
It just starts over and over and over again, and that's what people don't understand. I think you all touched on it earlier. We talking about the VA vets, and they probably get mad at me for saying this. A lot of you had to hold yourself accountable. Like Eric Thomas, the hip hop preacher, he said, you'll go through the drive-through, you'll hold everybody else accountable,
but yourself.
until when it comes to you holding yourself accountable. And so that's why I tell people, get educated. You have to be educated on this process. At a minimum, understand the different ways of service connection.
Absolutely.
Understand the requirements, and then you list your condition and where does it fall, and you build your evidence. And I have people, and I don't know why people don't email me. Man, this person, like, had some guy, he left a comment, somebody else's channel. They get an email and they photoshopped it. He was saying, I was telling vets not to go to CMP exam. No, I'm telling them what I did. You have to make your own decision according to, and so I did a video about it. I'm like, all right, we'll make your YouTube famous, And so I'm like, everybody has their little differences and stuff like that. But I don't know why we as YouTubers cannot come together, because it's like you said, Rural Rock, is people out here bickering. You know what? Put that to the side, and we all got one common goal,
Absolutely.
and that's to educate the veterans, to make sure them and their families get what they deserve.
100%.
Wow, to me, I'm still trying to wrap my head around the amount of veterans who have not yet to even file a claim.
Well, I went 12 years and didn't know until I got on the job. That's great. I had cousins. I'm looking at the family reunion. I'm hot. Because now you asking me questions. Like, dude, you should have told me about this 12 years ago. 12 years ago. You know I love you, right? But over $400,000 in compensation, other things that I can never get back. And so when I started my channel, I started thinking the same thing, HerVetVoice. Who else doesn't know? And if they do know, then they're like, where do I start? I was in Lowe's the other day, dropped my son off at school. I said, man, I need to go to Lowe's, pick up some stuff. So I'm going through, this guy recognizes me. He said, man, I'm already 100%, but my coworker down here, her husband's struggling. He said, do you have a minute? I said, yeah, I'm about to load this stuff. I said, my pickup right over there.
Yeah.
She came over, I had a 30-minute conversation with her.
Good.
30-minute conversation. And that's the thing. Go ahead.
Dwayne, here's the thing though, man. I love the success stories that I know all three of us have been able to share about how we've helped veterans. Me and my wife was talking the other day, and I think we've lost count of how many people we've helped to get to 100. We don't even know how many it is anymore. They send a thank you note. Hey, congratulations, wonderful. Go on with your life. Here's the Veterans Disability Matrix of everything you apply for. Here's something for your state, say that you apply for, but go on in Jesus' name and be happy, right?
Yeah.
But the thing about it is that HerVetVoice, and I said this on my last live, HerVetVoice will probably do Senate hearing reviews from now until 2040. You will probably make 5 or 6 different variations of the videos that you've already done, totaling about 4,000 videos. I've got over 100 strategy guides, PDF strategy guides. And listen, all the stuff we make, that's gonna be the little amount of views. The stuff veterans really need, they're not gonna watch it. But listen, if I make a video about fraud, wasted views.
Oh, did we talk about this another week? Yeah. Or you make a video about the 2029 compensation rate table.
Come on.
No, 2029 COLA increase.
Cola.
Right,
Cola
yeah, that's what I mean.
increase.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You know, and those, yeah, and so not saying there's anything wrong with watching those.
No,
but
no, it's
if
not.
you can't get to 10%, that may not be the video you need to be looking
But
at.
this is the part that baffles me. I have 2 raters
Oh my God.
who've been doing the
Who
job
are very good. They're very good.
19 plus years under their belt. They will come here and not ask their questions.
No
but
question.
Send me an email when we get off.
Listen, yeah.
They get mad when I tell them I'm not about to type a whole response to you when you had the perfect opportunity to come here and type it in that comment box.
Yeah.
Then they answer you and give you the best answer. You cannot get no better answer. And I'm not degrading you, Dwayne, in any kind of way. These people are the people that look at their email every day. They get all the changes right in front of their face. They
Right there.
do it with their eyes closed. Okay. Because Natural literally do it with her eyes closed. Okay. And you still don't come here and ask the question.
Nah.
Yeah. And they are the ones that have the boots on the ground. Because you're right, I don't get those emails anymore. And I try to stay in the M21 manual reference, you know, just to stay up to speed. But they have it right in front. And guess what I found out? This is gonna make me laugh. So I get a email from, I think it was Raider or text. They say, "Man, you famous now." I say, "What are you talking about?" They say, "I was taking TMS training the other week about fraudulent DBQs."
Oh boy.
And they had the picture of your thumbnail. I was like, and I thought they were kidding. I'm like, you cannot know. And I was like, yo, they got my shirt. I'm like, Danny, my business is trademarked.
Somebody text me.
They didn't pay me for my likeness.
FF. Another Raider text me.
You got an NIL claim.
I know, right?
The other Raider text me outside of Natural. FF was like, wait, why is Dwayne Campbell up here on this TMS training?
Oh boy.
Girl, do you know? I said, oh, that's good.
You
That's
know,
how you know that they watching us.
That's
They're
good.
watching.
That's really good.
Right. And I do, when people say the VA, I tell them, I was like, you know, you can't do that because I work with a lot of good raiders, VSRs, droves.
Yeah.
I say it's not all of them. I said, and the same thing on the VHA side, you know. So you have to be careful when you say, oh, the VA hates vets. No, it's not everyone, you know. So I just thought that, I was like, man, I was like, okay, but I do call out, you know, VA employees from time to time, but it's not every same way I do people that are credit, but it's not, I'm not saying it's everybody, right?
Yeah.
And I did a video where I said, do not assume, because people were assuming that I did things that I don't do. Now, HerVetVoice, she asked me one day, I think it was a couple weeks ago, she said, Wayne, why didn't you become accredited? And we had a conversation about it, right? And I tell people,
I heard that one. Yep.
Yeah, I never filled out anybody's 526EZ, never fit 099, never submitted none of that, because what I do, I'm trying to change that mindset to get educated.
Right.
So when you do start to navigate through that process, one, you feel empowered, you're less frustrated. It's going to be easier for you to navigate it, and it's going to help you better make an informed decision, because you are informed now.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, listen, you know, we could talk for hours, HerVetVoice, but you probably need to get back to
definitely have to come
the
up with
hearing.
a panel, and you know I will bring the questions.
Yeah.
I
I would love
have
that.
questions. We'll figure out who could be on the panel, what night. It will be a good conversation to have. And I would love to have a VSO, an accredited agent. I would have, you know, love to have those on the
That'd be
panel
awesome.
to get those questions answered. And
That'd be
we'll
awesome.
be able to have a community where, hey, this person's a consultant, this is a provider, this is this, and see how we can have this whole circle complete and show veterans that regardless of what you think about the outside of not being accredited or VSO, this is what it looks like.
And
Right.
we may not all agree on everything, but guess
Yeah.
what? If you've got a question, we could probably answer it
Yeah.
among us, because what I'm really learning in this space is that every veteran's claim is unique. And every
Yeah. Oh,
veteran's
yeah.
claim is different, right? Like there may be some similarities in certain claims,
Mhm.
but everybody's got different things and challenges that they're associated with. The way I like to think about it is when you file your claim, you're in three stages. You're either in your initial stage, which is you're filing 526EZ, you just submitted intent to file or whatever, right? Like this is the first time you've submitted a claim, or you're in the sort of review of a field stage where you file a supplemental claim 0995 or 0996, right? HLR, like that's you're reviewing it, or you're in a decision final phase where you're satisfied with the percentage that you have, the compensation percentage that you have, and now you need to understand the nature of your benefits, what they mean, what they
Yeah.
mean in your state, right? What they mean to your family and all those kinds of things. Do I now pursue SMC benefits? Do I qualify for those things, right? And so like it just getting, as Dwayne was talking about, just getting that education to veterans and understanding that, I think will go a long way. And just coming together on that panel. I'd love to do it, brother. Set it
Yeah.
up.
And I think it won't be hard because I know mental health professionals and other raters that have YouTube channels. But I think for some that could bring a little bit more, not, I don't want to say more to the table, a different aspect, may not want to come because now it shows cohesiveness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Because together we stand, divided we fall.
Right.
And, it has to, they still want that to be attention, like us against them.
Right.
I mean, we all serve, maybe in different branches,
All
but
of us.
we all serve. So why is there this competition? I got a video about that coming up. I wasn't gonna do
Hey,
it,
listen,
but-
I don't hold it against y'all that y'all joined the wrong service. That's okay. Listen, I still love y'all.
Yeah.
Y'all didn't join the Navy like you were supposed to, but I still love you.
Right. So I think, we can all agree.
Yeah.
If you going out there and you charge somebody $28,000-$30,000, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I think we all can agree on that.
We definitely agree on that.
That
See, I did a video last night of that company in Arizona, 1.95 million between 2014 and 2019 from veterans.
Yeah.
And the AG had to be the one. The AG had to be the one to bring charges against them. The Attorney General. I mean, it's statewide across the nation is why. Eric has a question here for us. I have a question. How provocative are letters to a vet from family and friends written when the vet was in service that refers to a vet's state of mind? Great question.
Excellent question.
Okay, I'll take the first shot.
Yeah,
at
you
this.
take the first stab, Dwayne.
And I'm gonna be honest with you. It depends on the rater's desk it lands on. Some raters, they don't look at it. I would look at it, especially if it was a spouse, and say for instance, sleep apnea. Spouse writes, and I can't think of the name of the lay statement form. I just did a video on it too, where they could write.
I think it's the 1010102.
Okay.
The 1012 statement.
Yeah.
Yeah. 101 1012.
And they say, my husband or wife had loud snoring and this, and this, but never saw treatment. They have the sleep study showing a confirmed diagnosis, maybe some others treatment. That was enough for me to go ahead and request the CMP exam.
Yeah.
Okay. And I always made sure when it came back that, or when it went to the third party examiner, they had that lay statement, right? It was I don't know how they do it now in VBMS, but they could look at it. But I tell veterans, if that's the case, you might want your significant other in that CMP exam with you. Take that lay statement with you and say, hey, we submitted this to the VA. So now the examiner knows it's not in those service treatment records.
Right.
The reason why they're here is, and I would word this, here's a nugget, in the 2507 medical request. I think, or now they may just call it medical request. So that language is there. So hopefully the examiner knows, okay, it's not in the service treatment records, because they're thinking it's in the service treatment records. And then when they go there, it's not there. Then you get a negative opinion. You could get a negative opinion anyway, but I think your chances are a lot higher if you do it that way. But at the end of the day, is based on the rater. I had raters on my team like, oh, I'm not using no DBQ from a chiropractor. And you know me, I'm that guy. But what regulation states that you can't? Well,
Right.
Just because they can't prescribe, is that a personal feeling? Are you violating that? Man, you what? You hostile to me. Oh,
Yeah.
now you mad because like
Right.
TK Kirtland said, you just read your email.
I just read your email. Listen, I the only thing I'll add to what Dwayne already said is that, so Aaron Wolf, based on the M21-1, lay evidence does have probative value. Let's just establish that. Like when someone submits a letter on your behalf, that does have probative value. As Dwayne stated, from a rater's perspective, depends on what rater's desk it falls on. What I would say to you is, if you're going to have anybody write a letter for you, ensure it's on a proper form. Listen, and don't try to say too much or too little in the letter, right? There are so many different ways to write, for you to write your personal statement and for people to write buddy letters on your behalf, right? Choose the way that's best for you. Like you could write it in narrative fashion, right? Like telling a story of how it started and then, the middle of it, right? And then how it's going now. You could do before and after contrast, right? What you want to specifically focus on, whether it's your own lay statement. And I see the second part of your question too. We'll try to get to it. Whether it's your own personal statement or whether it's a buddy letter, you always want to think about functional impairment, and you always want to think about activities of daily living. What can you not do now that you used to be able to do, right? And how is it affecting your daily life? You always want to think about that. And so HerVetVoice, I want you to chime in too, but he's got another part of the question.
To clarify, the letters are 20 plus years old, no lay statement available. I don't think the age of the letters would matter, regardless of how old they are. I think you should submit them. But like I say, I want you to think about your lay statement and what you are going to write, because sometimes less is more, right? You want to tell a story, but you want to tell a direct story. What I've really encountered when it comes to lay statements is that veterans get carried away into a whole other, like we are not playing the violin. We are talking about, and Natural says this all the time. I would rather you give me 10 lines of substantial information than you give me 20 lines that ain't worth nothing.
Because they're not gonna read it. Dwayne,
she don't have time. She doesn't have time.
Y'all ain't got time to read
says it all the time. She's like, y'all can file whatever y'all want. And that's her line. Y'all can file whatever you want, but I'm not reading that garbage. And she says she's not reading it because sometimes you talk about your grandmama, your and when I do my consultations, I get my clients to send me their lay statements. They get mad because I redline through it.
Come on.
You want me to take this out?
Come on.
And then, no. When you go and get a letter from ChatGPT, that sends me to a whole nother place.
Yeah.
Why are you allowing, and I'm not saying that you cannot get some type of wording from ChatGPT, but ChatGPT is not, because I'm telling you what, FF
you got to be careful.
Degree. And she says all the time, I can tell when ChatGPT wrote this.
Oh, yeah.
I'm working on a project right now with ChatGPT. And let me tell you, I'm on version 25.
Oh, my.
Because I'm looking at certain things, but it's to get people to think, change that mindset, because ChatGPT, you put something in there, and I created a prompt where it will create a Nexus letter. And you have to put in certain information.
Yeah, you got a slot fill. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
So I was like, hey, just subscribe to my newsletter. I had like 5 or 6 people. So I'm like, if you put this information in here, it'll fill it in for you. And you can take it to your examiner. And that's going to help your examiner to understand exactly what you need.
Yes.
I start getting responses like, well, is this a guarantee it's going to help me?
No.
No.
It gives you the biggest headache ever, right? I'm giving you a nugget. I'm not
listen. No, but what else? No, but what else you got that's gonna help you?
I'm like, if that was that, I'd be one of these companies out here, 1.9 million. So I'm going on Shark Tank to sell my business. Hey, I got a $1.9 million valuation. And I'm like, no, and it's nobody out there that can guarantee this. You send you have a lawyer send in your 526 easy for you, or you do it yourself, I still had to follow the same guidelines.
Yep.
Just because, you
A
know,
lawyer
someone's
send
accredited or whatever. Yeah.
ESQ
Same thing.
attached to a name that's behind it doesn't do anything different because
Yeah.
they still have to follow the same guidelines, the same rules. It doesn't
Right.
change. And I think a lot of people be like, yeah, I'm not knocking attorneys because they are knowledgeable. But when I see, oh, you need to get an attorney. Supplemental claim, like for real.
Yeah.
Because you know what the attorney's gonna do? And the guy said it the other day. He said, this man made me wait 9 months. I kept calling, I kept emailing. He's like, nothing, man, nothing, man. He said, well, I ended up calling the VA and I took his name off and I filed my own thing and I got it right away. And he still hadn't filed anything for me. I was just waiting. I was just a sitting duck.
But when
he got a construction worker attorney, because you know construction work is progress payments.
Yeah.
You got listen. You know, construction they want to draw their job out, right? They want to draw the job out because they don't get paid unless the job take 10, 12 months. They don't get paid,
and they still get as long as that they have that attorney. I'm sorry, the fee agreement in place.
Yeah,
and the claims agent or attorney did not send that what they call it the waiver in to forego those future fees. Veterans think, oh, I did it. I'm going no, and then we look at that notification letter, and so when you say sharks, I'm like, are people that are accredited that do that? Are they considered sharks? Are they because they know they didn't do any work on that claim, so they're gonna refund that, you know, forego those fees and say, hey, Mr. or Ms. Vet, I know you took the bull by the horns.
Right.
You did everything. You filed a 0996. You did your HLR, whatever it is. We know we didn't do anything. We're going to go ahead and give you that money.
Yeah.
Right.
How many times do you think that happens?
Yeah, unless they do some of the pro bono work on the front end.
Yeah.
Dwayne, and I'm speaking specifically on accredited claim agents and companies. Unless they do that pro bono work on the front end, then yeah, they're just as much of a shark as they're accusing other unaccredited folks of being.
Right.
You know, if they do that fee agreement without that. So yeah.
Right.
They're not sharks, they're barracudas.
Barracudas.
and by no means am I slamming people that's accredited. And I'm not saying it's
a jab in any way,
against
shape,
them.
form, or fashion.
It's the and
It's
this is
the reality of it.
right.
Yeah.
And my belief is this: the good ones, the VSOs, the claims agents, attorneys that are doing it the right way.
Yeah.
They are overworked because when a veteran has a good experience in they explain it, what they're going to do? They're going to go tell their back.
They're gonna tell their friends.
And they're going to tell. And so they are overworked. They, you know, they got mounds of paperwork.
Yep.
And, you know, it's and the VA says, hey, it's okay. So when they don't pick up the phone, some of them, you know, probably are not doing it the right way or just not calling vets back. But I think a lot of times when they're not picking up the phone, some of them are like, they probably took on so much and it's a huge burden. They're just like, I can't keep up.
Okay, I was told by RVSR that I had very clever statement and very articulate on my conditions she granted, but she didn't know I used AI to craft it. It's not a bad thing at all, just my take.
Oh yeah, we didn't say it was a bad thing.
No, I don't think it's bad.
Know sometimes based on your wording, because sometimes when you start using the words like prostrating, when it comes to migraines, now you know the average person say my head is thumping or you know, my migraines are so bad, I got to lay down. Veterans don't use words like prostrating unless you have some type of medical background or you know, your spouse or whatever family member is helping you use those words. But AI gives you these long words, and guess what? They know, they can tell. And then you don't even take out the little dashes, or sometimes I see some of my clients, when they Google it from Wikipedia, they have the Wikipedia link in the top.
But you know, if I was still rating, I did this several times, where when the CMP exam came back,
Mhm.
and it showed, let's just say for migraines, it showed they were 30%.
Mhm.
I was actually able to grant the 50% criteria based on the wording in the veterans lay statement. So I've had clients that they're like, I copy and paste the 50%. You got the evidence to support it? Yeah.
Oh,
There
man.
you
And
go.
they went on high level review.
They
And
win
they
it.
think it's just that simple. It's not rocket scientists. It's not rocket science. You're giving they're giving you the answers to the test.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. So I would see it now. I was that type of rater. I can't say
Everybody else.
all
is.
raters do
Yeah.
that. It's just the nature of the
Every
beast.
I think
rater is
if y'all just really want to use AI, if you can't help yourself, you just really want to use AI, then do this. Take your medical record, take a piece of paper, open up the 38 CFR and M21-1 in another stack. I just did a video about this. So you have 3 stacks, right? You got your blank pen and paper, 38 CFR, M21-1, and then you got your medical record and all your evidence and your treatment records. And write your statement out in your own words, and then put it in AI and say, if you just have to use it, put it in there and say, listen, this is my personal statement. Can you make sure it's grammatically correct? And
Yeah.
can you preserve my original thought?
Mhm.
If you do that, right, it's going and tell it, I want it to sound like me. Okay. Then you have the integrity of knowing that that is your statement, right? And that you're not just telling AI, write me a statement.
Yep.
Because I think that's what veterans do. Hey,
Yes,
write me a
I think
personal
that's
statement.
it.
I
Yeah.
gotta submit a claim. Go ahead, write me a personal statement. And then AI spits out something that don't have nothing to do with nobody. And then the next thing you know, like you get in trouble with the RVSRs. Now listen, aren't y'all glad? I think all 3 of us have probably come from that generation where we learned how to type on a typewriter.
Oh.
We had to go to the library.
You had to put the ribbon.
You know what I'm
Had to put the
saying?
ribbon. Get a
I
ribbon.
didn't have, listen, I didn't have no computer. Listen, I had to use Dewey Decimal System. I didn't have no computer at school. and because we actually learned how to write,
Yes.
when all of the technology came in, right? You understand the manual way, and then you use technology to accentuate what's already here, right? It's already there, right? Like the issue is already there. I want to say this to all veterans. You know your story. Your story
Yes.
is
Better than
legitimate. You
anybody
understand better than anybody else. You understand how to articulate your story. You understand how to say your story. Listen, if you got to grab your phone and say your stuff in your phone, and then take your phone and get the transcript of what you said and then throw it in there. I understand everybody's not adept at some of these technologies, but there are ways around just having somebody else do something that has nothing to do with you. You don't want to submit that type of thing to the VA because that's not who you are. We're veterans. We got integrity. We understand. Listen, we shoot, move, and communicate, to use the Army term, and we do it with honor, right? Like, and we have honor, courage, and commitment here. So let's act that way as veterans.
Yep.
All right, guys, we have been doing this for some time. So, Dwayne, you are tasked with creating this panel. Let me
Yes,
know
sir.
whenever
okay.
you get time. Let's
I
get
love it.
together. Let's have
I
this
love it.
conversation. It's definitely been a pleasure tonight to
Awesome.
talk about the 3 important things that we are so not focused about is the modernization, the funding,
Yes.
and the oversight. 3
And
things that
oversight.
are very
Love
big
it.
right now
Mhm.
when it comes to the dollar amount of the
Awesome.
committee hearing, making the decision to give this man these billions of dollars.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
I think they'll get it. And just
I
they
think
do
they'll
the
get
right
it too.
thing.
Well, now
I think
he's
they'll
a
get it
veteran. He's now a veteran.
So we'll see.
Yeah.
So now he can't say my veteran.
Listen, HerVetVoice, if you want to hop back on at some point to do the second half, because I think
Yes.
what you'll find out is that in that second half, the DAV folks came on. I was a little surprised. They disagreed with some of the VFW
Yes.
rhetoric there. And
Yes.
Dwayne, I don't know if you caught this, but I was saying earlier that it's interesting to me how the all the VSOs, they talk about the Guard Act, but they don't talk about the Plus Act.
Talk about voice, but yeah.
They don't include the Plus Act, right?
No.
I just so everybody know, let me let the cat out the bag, just so everybody knows. And then, I got a lot of videos about accreditation versus unaccreditation. I try to be fair to both sides. I got a series coming out about that. But let me let the cat out the bag. I am an advocate for allowing, in the spirit of the Plus Act, I'm an advocate for allowing unaccredited voices to come into the space and being allowed to touch the claim. I do not know if it's the right answer to say to a veteran, you got to go to a VSO, which is a crapshoot, or you got to wait. You got to wait until you behind the power curve on your claim to get with an accredited agent, right? Or else you up the creek without a paddle, right?
Yeah.
I believe, and I'll say this, Dwayne. There are so many people who are talented, who are wise. I was telling HerVetVoice this, who are better. I'm gonna go ahead and say it for the people in the back. They're better than some of your accredited folks, right, in handling the claim. And it's weird to me that the only the restriction that they have regulatory restrictions not to touch your claim or prepare your claim. But you have all these veterans who need claims help.
Yeah.
I talked in my last live about the fact that in Chicago, you got somewhere between 65, 85,000 veterans just in the city of Chicago. You probably got 50 to 60 VSOs or accredited agents across the state.
Yeah.
Across the state. If you go to that accreditation search tool, and that's publicly, it's shoot, we communicate. I see you, real Miss K. If you go to the accreditation search tool, right, there is a ridiculous imbalance of the amount of veterans that's there and the amount of people who are authorized to work their claim. And then after authorization, you got to figure out, do they even know what they're doing? Like, is it, what's the skill set?
659. Actually,
that's what I'm saying.
What was that dollar amount you said that they had passed? Where
in the Plus Act, well, it's still House resolution.
It's still House
resolution. It's $12,500 that was in the Plus Act. That that's the cap, Dwayne.
Right. And I think you said something. I know you said it because I referenced it. They have to put some guidelines in, because if
Absolutely.
they don't, it's going to be the wild west.
Absolutely. With regulation. With regulation.
You're going to have something, because it's going to be that amount, that 12.5. That's
what they're going to.
That's what it's going to be.
Every amount is going to be that 12.5 from now on.
See, my requirement.
Yeah.
If you got 10,000 pages, you click Royal Rock Wellness, HerVetVoice, they got a vet over it, because that you're going to miss something. You just I tell people my first book was, I think, 153 pages, 5x8.
Yeah.
And I read the manuscript over 30 times when I wrote the thing. Once I got it, a physical copy, I'm so excited. I'm just like, man, let me read it.
Yeah.
Took me, I think, 3 to 4 hours, and I wrote it. Now you're talking about 8x11, line by line,
man,
1,000 pages.
Yep.
How long would that take? How long is that going to take a rater to read? And so you have the VA secretary, you have other high-ranking VA execs saying, we look at, no, stop saying we. Because the people that have the thumb on the pulse of the veteran that's reviewing these cases, you don't never say, oh, they're on a production quota. Oh, they're on a quality quota.
Right.
We're pushing them to rate these cases as fast as they can. And then if they make a mistake, the veteran has the opportunity to go to BVA or file an appeal. You all said it earlier. You go to BVA and it says on the form, if you select these options, it may be a while.
It's going to be a while.
And people don't read that fine print. They serious when they say that. They serious. Don't, like my grandpa used to say, you don't believe fat meat is greasy.
Don't believe fat meat's greasy. Listen.
Listen.
It's real.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Great conversation. We will pick this up at the next panel, whenever that's going to be, but I'm definitely excited.
I know all of us will be on there. I'm thinking of another rater out west.
Okay.
They have a YouTube channel, Prepare to Compete podcast.
Awesome.
Another young lady. She has a YouTube channel. I haven't seen much from her in a while. She doesn't get a lot of views, but she talks about VHA, whistleblowing, about the poor health.
I love that.
Vanessa Leck.
that.
Vanessa Leck, I think her name is.
Yeah,
Been
the
doing it for.
whistleblowing. We
don't
need to
been-
talk about the whistleblowing and the effects
Right.
that we have when it
Yeah.
comes to
Right.
whistleblowing. Yeah.
She talks about it a lot, and
Mhm.
we just connected, I think, on LinkedIn or something
Mm.
years ago because my background was different. I had a different
Yeah.
microphone. I'm like, man, that was a long time ago. And that video's on her channel, so I could reach out to her. But I don't know. I got to figure out how many people we can have on StreamYard. But I'll figure that out. Send you an email, HerVetVoice.
Oh, that'd be
If
awesome.
you all can think of somebody else, we just get a number.
Yeah.
And then we get a date and we'll go from there. Because I don't want people
Excellent.
to think it's competition against
No,
David.
It's never that with me.
And
No.
I think some people don't talk about that because they want to just have that rift
Yeah.
out there, and it's
Mhm.
not. And I think a lot of veterans that are watching us, we have I did a live with David Piatek and Jason.
I saw
who
that
used
the
to
other
be
day. Very good.
accredited.
Yeah.
And I lost my thought. I'm 57, so
Dude, you the oldest one on this.
Discussion you guys were discussing the other day with David and yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember what we were talking about something, but the power in our voices, right?
Mhm.
We got a lot of veterans out there that are listening to us and going off of what we say and stuff like that. So I always just try to remain focused on
Good.
the task at hand. Most of the time, unless I get a VA employee come on and say, leave me a comment and say, veterans is doing too much with this private DBQ. All right, okay, here we go. I got a video for you.
And I come and tell them when Natural gives me, our FF gives me little nuggets. I don't hold anything back. We actually had the other day, FF provided a DBQ that was horrible, along with lay statements. She redacted, we redacted information and let them know, like, when you are getting the DBQ that you are paying for, this is what it needs to look like.
Yeah.
If you check that box is checked that they did not review your record, you paid for nothing.
Yeah.
So we break it down. That's why I'm able to share the screen so they can see. They have a visual, because sometimes you don't get it when you're listening to it. If you can see it, you can understand it more.
Absolutely. And let me give
one on MPIs and how to check MPIs and to know that the provider is certified.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, let me ask this question real quick.
Hmm.
Go back and look at that video and tell me how many views it got. It probably and no disrespect to your channel.
I got it.
It probably didn't even get 10,000 views. And it should have been maybe 50, 60, 70, 100,000 views.
Listen, I feel like all of the lives that HerVetVoice does with the Raiders should be clocking 100,000 views. Because and listen,
I don't think any of my videos have even reached 1,000 views. What are y'all talking about?
But here's the thing. Based on the information that's given out. Now, again, as we talked about this earlier, let somebody do a video about some kind of money. Let somebody do a video. Listen, you notice anytime anybody do a video about and they put 100% in there, it's gonna get clicks.
Yeah.
It's gonna get views. It's gonna get views.
I just did a short. I recorded this short about 3 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I was looking at it today in my analytics, and it was like 100%. And I'm like, man, this is short. It's doing good. And before I even looked at I saw the views before I looked at the name, and I had 100% in there. I think 3 things to do after you get 100%, something like that. Because a lot of people don't know about I didn't know about the student loan program. Actually, the way I learned about that, the forgiveness, I was rating. It was early on.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine said, hey, you being a federal employee, you can get your student loan deferred or pay a reduced amount.
Right.
And I was like, oh, really?
Yeah, that's that. Yep.
I called, submit all my paperwork, didn't know what I was doing, called, submit all my paperwork, get approved. But before I got approved, I called back and I got a young lady and she said, oh, if you meet these different requirements, this, and this, you'll get discharged. I'm like, what?
Right.
Now I'm rating. And I'm I'm like,
It's white.
so I'm like, so the person I was
Oh,
working
yeah.
with, a couple of weeks later, I called back after I had submitted
Uh-huh.
my evidence that she had gave me that I needed. And the lady said, well, I already worked on this to
Mhm.
get you the reduced amount. What you think I'm gonna take? A reduced amount
Or,
or get
or,
it
or,
this?
or get it completely discharged.
And VA employees are always the last. You know, when I found out now it's a little bit easier because you got social media.
Yeah.
Right.
And it wasn't social media was out like
wasn't
back
that
then, but it
popular.
wasn't as strong as it is now.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It would be from a neighbor that was a veteran. Hey,
Mhm.
what's going on with this change? I'm like, what are you talking about? I go to work next day.
They're working.
Quality team, they like, yeah, we're getting that training together to give you all.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
how did they find out about it before?
Yeah.
Sure.
We did. It was crazy.
That's
I
how it
think.
is, because sometimes I
Yeah.
tell Natural about something. She's like, what?
Mm.
What are you talking about?
What's that?
I'm like, girl, I gotta go check my email. What?
See,
Because,
hey,
you
not
know,
to worry about them points, but
I think,
points.
but I think honestly, Dwayne, you touched on something, and what that is that it's the whole reason why some content creators have been able to shoot up so fast.
Yeah.
They take an update, right, which doesn't really mean what they say it means in their video, and they spin it some kind of way, and
You
then
mean
now
clickbait?
and you play on veterans' emotions in those ways, right? The clickbait, and then they
Yeah.
spin it some kind of way, and all of a sudden it's like, man, 25,000 views in the first hour. Well, what is it? What's that new thing, right? And how the algorithm just kind of
Yeah.
pass it along
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
everybody, right? And so, but it's really not the information that veterans need. I remember I left a comment on a really big creator. We're not gonna name names to protect the innocent or the guilty. But I left a comment on there, and this person was talking about the clothing allowance, and the way he spent it or framed it was, hey, get more money, submit your claim by August whatever to get more money. And I was like, wait a minute, like the annual deadline to submit clothing allowance is August 2nd or whatever it was, right?
Mhm.
Why is he spinning it to say this is somehow
Get
a
more
new
money.
thing?
Well,
To get
Right.
a new thing, and I just thought about the psychology of how this works on veterans' minds, right? Like, and how you could say just about anything and throw some kind of regulation on it, and veterans would just lap it up like a dog. So that's why it's really important. It's really important to get accurate, reputable information from, if you're going to watch a content creator, if you're going to allow somebody to, whatever the case may be, it's important to make sure that information is accurate. Because as Dwayne was talking about, man, these changes come out like
They
they
come
like
out
water,
quick.
man. Like
Yeah.
you can't
Well,
keep
I-
up often.
I think Aaron Wolf, I would have to disagree with that statement. He or she says update videos or junk food. If they're presented in a way that Roll Rock just explained, yes. It took me a week to do the video about the secondary updates.
I haven't touched that, Dwayne, because I
Yeah.
don't feel like I've researched
I
it
haven't
enough.
touched it.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to touch it until I can really understand it.
It took me a week to touch it.
Mhm.
And I had some baby gloves on.
Yeah.
But when I do those updates, I share not the new manual reference,
Mhm.
but the update that has the yellow font behind.
Okay,
the
the yellow
pictures,
font. Mhm.
right? So they can see,
Which is
Yeah.
publicly available, y'all.
right,
Yeah.
right. And I show people how I got there. This is
Yeah.
how you go and you get
Yeah.
it, right? And you look at it. And so they were talking about baseline, and somebody was like, "Oh, the baseline is new." No, it's not. Baseline has been there.
Yeah.
When I first started rating, you just didn't hear about it a lot. Even when I rated, I probably maybe 4 or 5 times out of all the thousands of claims I adjudicated,
Mhm.
that I maybe referenced a baseline or something like that.
Mhm.
But things like that secondary, you
Mhm.
need to know.
Yeah.
And I even gave examples of ways that you can use past VA CMP exams
Yeah.
to establish your baseline.
Mhm.
So those
Mhm.
updates, I think, are crucial, because if you don't know
That's
and
good.
you're still doing it the old way,
That's
and
good.
you submit it, you may not get the
I mean,
outcome
even
that
records are still
you want.
struggling with the whole secondary and the changes. And I
I just
Mhm.
tell you this, there are way more denials.
Yeah, I do. I think it's all around that but for language, and that's why I'm not touching it.
I haven't touched
not
it because
touching
it is very touchy. It is very sensitive right
Yeah.
now, and the weight of the whole, is pretty much a lot of people are deterred from even filing
Mhm.
secondary claims because
Right.
of the wording, what it says, without
Mhm.
really understanding. Like Dwayne said, the baseline has always
Right.
been there,
Right.
right? So Natural was talking about it the other day. She's like, it's always been there, but the wording is what's taking them to a whole nother place.
Absolutely. Yes.
Right.
You can't, if you can't get them to even understand the three elements, you can't get them to understand.
Exactly. You want them to read. You want them to read the Spicer case. You actually read the whole case.
And I think in my video, I read the case
Mhm.
and I said in my video, I had a hard time
Mm.
connecting that case
Yes.
Yeah.
to the manual reference, even
Yeah, main
though
reference.
it was listed in there. And I'm like,
Right.
yeah,
It's
because
tough.
I'm thinking the baseline has always been there, and they just make
Yeah.
it seem like this is some new thing that just popped
Mhm.
up.
Yeah.
The VA just made it harder
Mhm.
for you to get service connected,
Right.
in my opinion, based on secondary. Because
Right.
if you're claiming sleep apnea secondary to PTSD, in my
Mhm.
mind, now the examiner has to state, well, if the veteran didn't have a diagnosis of
Uh-huh.
PTSD, could
Mhm.
they have still have sleep apnea? So
Mhm.
I'm thinking, okay, your stressor, what is your
Yeah.
actual
Yeah.
stressor?
Mhm.
Is it
Mhm.
due to military sexual trauma where you were in fear?
What's
in combat?
causation? Yeah. What's
Right.
causation in there?
So then look at the different things from a medical standpoint. So medical
Mhm.
providers are going to have to do this of things that causes sleep apnea. So
Right.
if you take away PTSD, that stressor
Mhm.
and your body mass index has
Yeah.
always been under, you don't
Right.
have
Right.
other conditions leading up to that.
Mhm.
Yeah, the veteran possibly could have still had or not had sleep apnea either way, but that factor of having PTSD may have
Mhm.
caused it based off of, now you got to throw this in there,
Okay.
medical studies that have been performed that connects the two.
Mhm.
I'm not a medical professional, but as a rater, these are things that I would be looking at, but then that's where that medical veteran and medical professional will
Comes in.
have to come together
Yeah.
and, figure that out.
Yep.
Hey, Dwayne, my wife just ducked her head, and I say, Dwayne jumped on. She's like, oh.
Tell her I said hi.
Yeah. I definitely tell her you said what's up with that. Yeah,
Yeah.
when we get off here, I tell her you said
It's
what's up.
definitely a pleasure to have you both here. This was great. We will look forward to our next session. As always, we'll continue the second part of the committee hearing sometime. I have Natural and FF on Wednesday because there are some things that they want to talk about. They recently had a couple of meetings about the DBQ fraud, what's happening when veterans don't attend their C&P hearings, what instructions they have been given, a couple memos that I'm going to share, along with a couple things that they are getting ready to put in place when it comes to the AI system as well. Right. So I also want to share with veterans how to look for an MPI number, how to make sure that your provider is credentialed, because if you do not submit a credential provider signature to the VA, it will be considered fraud.
Wow.
Attention to credential, right?
Yeah.
It has to be a credential provider. You cannot fill out your own DBQ, and that's something we're going to talk about as well. Veterans are now filling out their own DBQ, or they are paying an AI system to create buddy letters. Buddies are not being verified, and so those letters are also considered fraud. The fraud window has now been broadened a little bit.
Well,
I can believe it.
a veteran can fill out their DBQs if they are a medical or mental health professional.
Yes, if they are. Yes.
They give it's in the reference. It's in the reference.
Yes. If you are a medical provider, yes. If you're not, then you cannot.
People ask me to do it. And I'm like, no, You're trying to get me put up in Leavenworth.
I'm
so
a,
I'm
listen.
like,
I'm a medical provider. I'm a therapist, but I'm not touching that.
You ain't
I'm
crossing
not
that
gonna.
line, Craig.
No, I'm not gonna cross that line. I can't listen.
So they are
If you're not my client and I'm not seeing you on a regular basis, I'm not gonna go in there and cross that line.
they're veterans that are filling out their own DBQ lines and looking for MPI numbers on the internet and putting them on there.
Oh boy.
They've gone that far.
Oh
They've
man.
gone that far.
and you said one thing, Royal Rock, you're not the client. So I did a VA claim strategy. Do you intend to file? Find you a mental health or medical professional. Start getting visits. Okay. Because in my
You're
mind,
talking my language. You're
if
preaching.
you're in LA as a veteran, you could have
A provider.
a therapist
Yeah.
in DC.
Doing
I don't
telehealth.
care
Yeah.
about the 100. Yeah,
Absolutely.
but some raters, they look at that. I never did because I'm like, okay, I get it. You know, you may have transferred with your job and you want to keep your old provider, or if
Yeah.
it's a medical provider and you're a salesperson. I had a claim like this, and they would fly back to where they live like once every 3 months, and then that's where they would get treatment and all that because they love that provider. You know, but that's why a claim strategy. I tell people, do the intent to file. You have 365 days, and do that.
Build your evidence.
Right, because the way I went through the process, I wouldn't go that way now because you know, we talk about years, you know, almost 20 years later. Just because things have changed. You know, a lot of call them old heads in the VA system. They're no longer there. I see some of them in the grocery store. I think we were talking about it, you all talking about it earlier. They retire, and one thing that I get, and I'm like, hey, G, man, where you still? Oh man, things got crazy.
Oh yeah.
They go on and on. They're like, nah, I got a job at CEO, so I could continue to work from home. So I work on a team now. We don't have no production. We don't have no production. We don't have no production.
Right.
So they can actually focus on the task at hand. One last thing, I don't want to draw this out. I used to love going to the canteen. I had them in the St. Petersburg regional office. I was down there. I was like, man, let me go get me a Sprite and some chips so I can get through this case. And then I think COVID said that. You go to the canteen, you could buy. I remember my headphones went out. I had to go get some headphones, some AirPods. They got TVs. We would get TVs. They'd be like, man, you driving your truck today? They got TVs on sale. I need somebody to, you know, I said, I'll drive my truck. I'm going across the Skyway Bridge with like 3
canteen service.
Thomas had a question. Can a veteran be rated separately for sleep apnea and asthma? Yes, they can.
The answer is yes.
Put together because it's respiratory for both. So it depends on when you file it. Sometimes they keep it separate. Sometimes they put it together. It depends. What up, the Grumpy Sailor Actual? Thank you for subscribing.
Awesome.
Enjoyed the panel with you all. Have a great night. The Nugget Man.
Listen, y'all. Let me say this. You guys. I told HerVetVoice by this week she will go over 1,000 subscribers. Y'all make it happen.
All right.
Y'all like to subscribe.
I don't even know where I'm at.
Join the channel. Listen, you don't gotta look, but you almost there.
I am.
Like
Well, thank
subscribe. Y'all like and subscribe. Y'all join the channel. Come on, let's support one another. We're veterans. We're all
Thank
veterans.
you.
Y'all
This
serve.
has definitely been a journey. I'm definitely I'm here and I'm going to enjoy the ride. I want women veterans to really come to the limelight. I do. I want them to be seen. I want them to understand that they matter. I want them to know that their body structure and all the changes that are going through, it can be related to something in the PACT Act, something in Terra, a toxin. It can be, you know, breast cancer, all type of things. And it's not just the wear and tear, or it's just not menopausal. You know, it's something that could, you know, it could be related to. So I want women veterans to be here and to be present and to understand that they do matter. That's her vet's voice. And that's
awesome.
Ultimate goal.
974.
Oh,
she's sitting at 974.
See?
Wow.
And she don't even know it.
Yep.
Oh, thank you to Grumpy Sailor. This actual RVSR.
Grumpy
Stumbled
Sailor.
across this channel. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah. Wonderful.
All right, guys. Have an amazing night. We will be back. There will be a bigger panel where we can have a bigger discussion about, you know, how we can maneuver and work together
Awesome.
outside of the different titles and build a community here for our veteran community. It's definitely been a pleasure. Enjoy your holiday tomorrow. Remember our men and women who have served and how they have dedicated their time to protecting us while we slept at night. We give honor to our veterans who are resting and who have served. We definitely appreciate your time in service and what you have done to make sure that we can pick up the baton to move into the place where you have been. So we pay respect to every veteran who is laying and resting in their place tonight.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
Take care.
Family, have an amazing night, and we'll definitely.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Take care. All right, bye.
Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
You're not alone, you got a voice. Stand strong, stay informed.